Video games like Postal.
Going Postal.
Going Postal. New video game. It's called Postal.
There are a lot of people that really wish we would go away, but it's never going to happen.
Their whole premise is so over the top. It's so ridiculous.
There was a video game called Postal. We just ran around shooting people.
Oh, this is going to piss off your viewers, isn't it? Oh, well.
Going Postal, The Legacy Foretold. A new documentary about the history of running with scissors. Streaming this spring. Pre-order now. Go to goingpostaldoc.com. That's goingpostaldoc.com. Tell them In the Keep sent you. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have no charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to the burned and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in antiquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, beareth all things, believeth in all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, when that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass, darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part. But then shall I know even also I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three. But the greatest of these is charity. St. Paul the Apostle. So what have you been up to since, I don't know, when was the last time we, did a podcast together?
Oh my God,
it's been a century or something.
It's been several years. A lot's happened. If I'm looking back through my long-term memory, you and I think we first met, I want to say back in 2020, 21 maybe?
That's probably likely.
Yeah, because the podcast I was doing at the time was we were doing a few episodes on Doom, on the Doom games. Specifically, that was around the time Doom Eternal came out, I want to say.
It was leading up to Doom Eternal, because you guys were doing first you did the series where you were talking about the history of the lore of Doom, and then it was then you guys did a whole separate one about and here's what Doom now with all the new stuff. And then now you have the Dark Ages, which is going to rewrite fucking everything else too, so...
I know. I'm pretty psyched for the Dark Ages. It looks really fun. I think back then it was basically we're doing these episodes on Doom. We're just kind of exploring the lore of the Doom games and all that. And I would really like to collab with other podcasters who are interested in, that topic and topics like it. So I think I literally just trolled through Twitter for a while, Doom podcast, or I Googled it or something. I somehow came across In the Keep and DM'd you, and
Red
the rest is history.
Asshole with way too much to say. Yeah. I was honored because I felt like I'm the last person, because I was studying Doom so much at the time. It was I'm the last person in the world who should be an expert. I'm talking to experts learning about this stuff. I didn't play Doom back in the... I wasn't even born when the game came out, And then, I think it was 2019 when I really got into the community surrounding Doom and learning about all the, like it's a shit show, man. Like it's just it's worse than an old lady sewing circle. Just people, monkeys throwing crap at each other for years, for like decades of just nonsense.
Sounds about right.
But some really cool things in the interim. A lot of creativity, and so like
Absolutely.
the expanded universe of like just map packs and mods that people have made, and like all of the different multiplayer, everything in gaming nowadays owes its lineage back to id Software. I mean, that's just true. And
For
to an
sure,
extent
yeah.
also Unreal, who owe their their advances to id Software as well. So
Yeah. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. It all started somewhere, and everyone inspires everyone else, and so it's a beautiful thing when you look back at like who was inspired by who and for what reasons.
for
And
sure.
it's amazing. Yeah.
But
But
you
yeah,
guys
a
did so
lot.
many other cool things as well. Like I liked you guys did a series on The Witcher, and you did one on
Mhm.
Dune before the movies series came out. Even you guys
Yeah.
were talking about like the background, like it's
Yeah.
so neat. I just I've never actually read the books, but I was just like thinking about your studying Doom. I was listening to a podcast series that I was required to take for the class that I'm doing, and they broke down Dune, and they also broke down Asimov's Foundation series, like
Ah,
and like how they relate to sort of like Masonic symbolism and Hermetic
hmm.
philosophy and all that stuff, and it's wild. But
Yeah.
in a way you were doing that. You were ahead of your curve. So,
Well, yeah, I got a shout out to my good friend Abu Zafar there. He was the basically founder and executive producer of the Party podcast network that I've been involved in for years. And yeah, the Dune spinoff, the show is called Gom Jabbar,
mhm.
the Dune series spinoff. That was his baby. That was his brainchild. I think he saw the demand for a deep dive series like that into the Frank Herbert, sort of mythos. And he really just dove in and was really dedicated to it. And that show has gone like into the stratosphere. Like their audience is crazy. Like they've done really well. So really proud of Abu on that one. And yeah, no, I'm really glad I got involved with the Lore Party guys because it was a lot of fun, and it's been I've met some other really interesting creatives like yourselves, and it's a good world to be in, just podcasting because when people who like to talk about nerdy shit and they like to get together and nerd out at each other, it's a good space to be in socially. Like I don't socialize much, so this is a
It's like
this is how I do
professional
it.
networking, really,
Yeah,
like, and not
yeah.
just, like, connecting with people on LinkedIn that you think might have a potential business interest, but, like, deliberately having conversations, or in your case,
Absolutely.
deliberately studying topics that are genuinely interesting to you, and, like,
Right.
when you build those connections, like, they can last a lot. You might be working on something down the road together with that person that you met through another person or whatever. It's so great.
Mhm,
I've
mhm.
told so many people, like, if you're thinking about going to college, please consider if you're gonna go into debt for it, and it's not you're gonna be a lawyer or a doctor, just start a podcast and just learn. Then you have a reason to just like go up to someone and ask them about what they do. Um,
Yeah.
and then when you go to apply for a job or whatever it is like, okay, let's just say you came to me and you're like, I want to work at In the Keep. I'm like, cool.
Mhm,
And then you're like, I went to college for 2 years and got an associate's degree in game design, or I
mhm.
produced a podcast and I talked to 400 people who were probably more qualified on the subject than my college professor was. And it's pretty easy to pick at that point.
Yeah,
And
you're really doing the work when you do the research, you do the networking, you do the producing, the recording, the editing. Like it is a job. Like you really are exercising like marketable skills when you do something like this. Like, for fun fact, well, it's not that fun, but it's a fact. I was actually between full time jobs for a little while, like last year before, 23, yeah, through part of 23 and part of 24. And I was really leaning on like, hey, I'm still podcasting at least. And that's something I could say in interviews like, hey, I still have a present position as producer on this media network, basically. And that's what it was. And that was a sort of almost like a project management position that I could point to. Like, hey, this is a valuable experience where I've managed deadlines and I've supervised other people and yeah, networked and
yeah,
organized projects. Basically, it was good. It was good to have.
That the other thing I think people get so mixed up in this, but like you don't have to tell someone that you did something for no money or for like whatever.
Yeah.
Like you're
Right.
just like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, I'm a podcaster. Like, oh really? Like you do that? And I'm like, yes. For many years now, I have been a podcaster, and it's like they don't need to know that most of that was like me working another job and or whatever the hell, or, you know.
Right.
And I've been pretty public about like what I do, and it's not now. I only do in the keep, which is a fucking blessing. Like
Yeah.
greatest gift I've ever had is just work for yourself.
Hmm.
But there were years of like there was no way I could do this without a full-time job to back it up. And,
Right. Right. Yeah, when I
um,
got like, that's very true. When I got into voice acting, around the same time,
mm,
yeah, about 5 years ago now, almost 5 years ago now. It was with the same understanding of like I might not ever make a living off of this, but it is going to it is something that could be an outlet for passion. It could be like this is what will keep me going when I make my when I make my living doing something else I don't really care about, but it pays the bills. You know, it's like there can be, I have that work that sustains me and kind of brings the money in, and then the work that fulfills me and kind of gives me a creative outlet. And I've found it important to have that distinction of like, not every job is going to fulfill you creatively, but if that pays the bills and you can use your free time on acting or podcasting or whatever it is. And if you're lucky enough and you put the time in, and I'm sure, and you work hard, like I know for a fact that you personally, you work hard, you really put your all into what you do. And so like eventually it pays off and you're able to do it full time. And that's a beautiful thing. So it's great to see.
even when you run your own company, there's always
Mhm.
going to be like shit that you have to do that you don't want to do, whether that
Oh,
be
yeah.
like menial day to day. Like I don't want to open up QuickBooks and fucking organize my finances. I don't want to do it. I hate it. No interest in it whatsoever. Other than I don't want to go bankrupt. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to file taxes. I don't. I don't fucking want to fire people. I don't want to do any of the administrative shit that comes along with it. But what I also
Yeah.
don't want is someone else making those decisions for me ever. Like I hate
Yeah.
I always maybe like dealing with the military for so long, but like just that existential crisis of every day I know that like my life is basically in someone else's hands in more ways than
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and it's the same for when you're an employee, like period, that people we're all sold this idea that like find a good job that's stable and you have security and all that stuff. And it's like there's no such thing as security, because if I'm gonna go listen to a Dave Ramsey lecture or some shit, and they'll tell you like the business owner is under way more stress than you think he is or she is. That person is just assuming all of the stress of knowing how close you all are to getting fucked over, um, for
Mhm.
real. Not that they should have a Maserati for doing that, but I just mean like it's stressful, and being
It
an
is.
employee just means that someone else is handling that stuff on your behalf,
That's
which is
true.
nice. And I would love to be able to do that for the people who are currently contracting for my company like one day, but
Yeah.
Um, I would
That's a fair
also just
point. Yeah.
I would encourage everyone who has ever worked for me. Everybody who's ever come through in the keep has gotten the same lecture. Like, own your own fucking means of production. Like, I'm not Karl Marx, but I'm just saying if you if you own your own means of production, you don't have to ask me about your health insurance or your 401k, and you're not going to lose it because a project here doesn't work out for you.
Right.
You could be in charge of your own destiny, and that sucks, but it's also better than living in a fantasy world.
Yeah, no, it is a trade-off. Like as someone who's
Mhm.
been laid off before, has lost jobs before, it's like even when you think you're doing everything right, uh,
Mm.
if someone else signs your paychecks, like it's kind of there could be that point. You never know when it's going to happen, and for whatever reason, it could be completely out of your control.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I've been there before, and it is a trade-off because I've always valued stability and the reliability of like I've never really had the itch to completely sever ties with working full time for someone else, like the corporate life, and go off on my own. Just because, like, I don't know if I'm wired in the way that you kind of have to be to motivate yourself to kind of get out there, and it's hard. I find it difficult to be that organized and that motivated to work for myself. Uh,
Yep.
I've always found it easier to fit into a position and like kind of do what someone else needs. And I guess the idea of not the money not just coming to me. Like the idea of like that stresses me out. But like at the same time, you're absolutely right. Like I don't like the feeling of, I've been laid off before. Like I said, I don't like the feeling of knowing like that could just happen at any time, and you have nothing you can do about it except for I guess what makes me feel better is I know that in those situations, which I've been in before, as long as I have like the skills to fall back on, as long as I have, the ability to go out and market myself or do work on my own in the short term. Like I've freelanced for short term between jobs before. And it's like, it's kind of like, yeah, working for someone else sucks, but as a new father with a baby, it's like, I really value the stability right now. But if I were to find myself in a situation where I have to kind of be my own boss for a bit, I know I can if I have to. But it's I don't know. It's a personality thing, I think, in some ways. Like if some people are just really wired to be their own boss and be really good at it, and I don't know if I am. Maybe it is a skill that I could learn, and I just haven't felt like it yet. But
I don't think that I'm good at being my own boss. I think I'm what I'm good at. If I had to like sell myself to someone else's,
yeah,
I'm really good at identifying talent in other people and then
Mhm.
like pointing them in the right direction. So like
Mhm.
I don't think that I'm like some great leader. What I
Yeah.
think I'm good at is like my business partner is everything that I'm not, and I'm everything that he's not, and we complement each other. Like Gelmo is so like detail oriented and meticulous and technical, and he's also like maybe not to say he's not an empathetic person, but I mean like he's not necessarily thinking about like the human aspect. Whereas
Mhm.
I'm all like, oh, yeah, like super motivational. Like, let's all just do like this really cool thing. And then I will 100% of the time like miss the like technical like if somebody tried to like embezzle money, I would not notice until we were bankrupt for sure. But he would know as soon as it happened. Um,
Yeah.
and that's good. That's a good thing to have.
That is a very valuable skill to read people and yeah, no, and understand that it takes all types. You really got to
Mm.
have a balanced team for sure.
You so aside from just like the corporate day job shit,
Sure.
you've done a lot of the like you've been doing the voice acting thing for a long time, and also the
Yeah, yeah.
podcasting deal. You did the audio drama that I saw.
Mm.
Um, we should do a whole podcast on audio dramas because it's like my favorite thing. I'm so glad that they're
Totally
like
could.
in vogue again. Like Audible
Yeah.
really brought that back.
Same
But
here. Yeah.
even going back to like the Orson Welles days, I'm like, I fucking
Yes.
love that stuff, man.
That's what I love about like the fact that several of my bigger roles, the media roles that I've done, that I've been lucky enough to do over the years, the fact that several of them were basically in that kind of fiction podcast audio drama format. I love it. Like I love that kind of work because I really do enjoy that lineage of going back to the classic radio plays. I'm like you. I'm glad that they are um, finding an audience, that there's a demand for them. The one I've done most recently, I'm actually working on season 2 of Oakbridge right
Mhm.
now. The one that premiered last year. Um, it's very gratifying work 'cause it's like, yeah, the production is there to the point where when you're listening to it, it is a very engrossing story, and the rest of the cast are so talented that like I feel part of something really special. And it's what's great about it is it's kind of accessible. Like this is an operation that people are just kind of doing for fun. This is like good quality production, but the budget doesn't have to be out of control for it. Like, we're all just sort of putting in the sweat because we, value the project. And no, it's creating this beautiful thing without like a Hollywood level investment, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a pure entertainment form that, yeah, like you put it, it has a long history to it. And it's still being kind of done justice today, which is really nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at least in my mind, like kind of the big one was War of the Worlds,
Mm,
and
mhm.
that was like made it a huge thing in the 30s and stuff. But then like
Yeah.
people talk about soap operas today, and we still have like I don't know, fucking Grey's Anatomy, all these like
Mhm.
really ongoing serials, but like that all has its roots in radio drama. Um,
Right.
like Lights Out, that kind of, and I mean, some of this is older than my grandmother, but it's like super cool. I think the height was kind of in the 60s, and then television became sort of the
Yeah.
zeitgeist after
Yeah.
that. But for me, Like, I love the theater of the mind. I love
Mhm.
being able to do other stuff. And it was it was popularized at least for, like the suburban housewife who's got a bunch of kids and is like literally doing shit around the house all day and just needs entertainment while she's
Yeah.
doing those things. Whereas if you're sitting on your ass watching television, it's not the same. Um,
Yeah,
and
it's a different experience.
and not just the voice acting, but also the sound design that goes into these things, like the really immersive things that they would do with just as like it doesn't have to be a lot, even with like audiobooks nowadays. Just like I don't know, the sound of a door opening and closing as they're going from scene to scene or something like that adds so
Yeah.
much to it, but without
Yeah.
requiring you to be stationary looking at something.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's what I love about it. It kinda comes back to that idea of accessibility. Like, if you have a good idea for a story and you flesh it out the right way and kind of
Mm.
execute on it with the right production, like, yeah, you can really, create something that it draws someone in just as well as, like, an HBO miniseries. Like, it gets people into it.
You're listening to KEEP in the Keep. If you love this show and you love supporting indie video games, please take a moment to check out In the Keep's upcoming Stellar Valkyrie. Built in the GZ Doom engine, this retro first-person shooter puts you in the universe of space bird bounty hunter Falco, who is on a mission to save his ex-girlfriend from the evil Black Star cult. Just type birdgame.space, that's BIRD game.space into your browser. Hit enter, smash the wishlist button, and stay tuned.
In fact, I'm actually writing my own script right now. I've been working on an audio
Hey.
drama script for, God, at least 3 years now. I'm slowly chipping away at it. I'm getting some feedback on it from some writer friends, and I do really want to produce it eventually one day. It's encouraging knowing, like, hey, these, like I said, these audio drama projects, they can really be labors of love without huge financial backing. But like, if you if you have the right production, have the right acting, have the right writing, it can really be special. And it's yeah, like I guess I just keep coming back to it. It's a very simple and pure art form that you can do a lot with. Uh,
I'm just
but
like, even
it's
to make a short film, like a good
yeah,
short film, you need minimum $30,000 worth of camera equipment and lighting,
yeah,
right?
basically,
Like,
yeah.
even if you're going like full, Dogma, whatever the hell number they threw on that.
Clerks, I
Like,
guess.
yeah,
Clerks.
as minimal as possible. It's still
Mhm.
quite a large amount of things. But to make an audio drama, I mean, you need a good script, you need a couple of voice actors, you
Mhm.
need some sound effects. Everything that you need, you can basically do for free on your computer.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
some good microphones, but I mean, even that's pretty accessible.
Even those you can, yeah, they're not that hard to get a hold of, and it's a little taboo to say, but there are
Right.
actors who will work for free. Like, it definitely, I've done it. I still do it. So like, it's yeah, it can be done.
The the best, I think, that in recent memory, because I say I did 1984, the audio drama version that they just published on
Oh,
Audible last year is
nice.
really amazing. But the best one of all time for me was Christopher Lee by himself. It's just him and like sound effects doing Dracula. And
Wow.
what's so incredible about, like, if you know Dracula, is like he has to do so many accents even in just one scene. You have to have like a Texas accent, a British accent, a Dutch accent, it's just and a Transylvanian accent in one scene.
That's
And
awesome.
Christopher Lee's the fucking master, dude. He's like,
Of
I,
course,
he
legend.
lived the greatest life I think a man could live. He set the
Yeah,
high watermark for like a
absolutely.
life well lived. Um, but
I need to check that out. I didn't know he did that. That's I know he starred as a Dracula in like an old movie, but I didn't know he did the narration. That's awesome. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I think it's even free on Spotify, like just
Nice,
Christopher Lee's Dracula or whatever. But yeah,
nice.
it's an
That
incredible. It's probably abridged, like the audio drama version. But
yeah.
like, uh, then you had the recent movie, like the remake of Nosferatu. Is also, if you're a Dracula person, is also
Mhm.
incredible. But just that audiobook form with Christopher Lee's really way up there for me.
For sure.
Just the delivery, the acting, just the fact that it's him. It's all there.
Yeah. What a guy.
Yeah, I mean, he fought in multiple wars, and then like as a grown man made the decision to become an actor, and then just did the greatest acting career you've ever seen from like, I don't know, he was probably like in his 30s by the time when he started acting.
Which is an inspiration for me because that's basically when I started. Not counting like high school drama class and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did like school plays in
Mhm.
elementary school, but then
Mhm.
we didn't like there was a drama class in my high school, but it was a joke. It was like the teacher would put on movies and you'd watch a movie together and take a test on
Right.
comprehending, that kind of shit.
Right.
But then I have like Chris, he's like going to university for script writing and he's like doing True West, with his buddies and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is acting. This is incredible.
Yeah.
It's a
I've
whole
heard
different
Chris,
level.
I assume you're referring to Chris Guerrero,
Yeah.
star of Stellar Valkyrie. Yes.
Yeah.
I have heard, I listened to the episode you did with him and I heard Chris talking about his approach to acting, and I was just blown away by just the depth of his knowledge and like how seriously he approaches the craft, and like yeah, he's insane about it. It's honestly inspiring. Like
Insane is the correct word. Yeah, he's literally crazy. Like I mean, he was honest about it all in that recent podcast that we did, but like
Right.
it's heavy on him, and I'm always like, dude, you don't have to work, like you don't have to push yourself like that. It's okay. He's doing, for anyone who hasn't checked in with Chris since that podcast, he is doing a lot better now. We'll do a follow up and everything, but yeah, like ever since the first day I met him, he was that serious about it, and I'm just like, bro, like you don't have to kill yourself in the process of like chasing your dreams or whatever. But um, the journey that he's been on though, with just like all the different like schools that he's had to attend and the classes he's had to take, and like even recently, I mean, when's the last time you saw a live play? Because COVID, I think, kind of fucked that up for the whole world. But
So I live in Cleveland, Ohio, which has a very a thriving theater district. Actually, the second biggest in the country, right after Broadway.
right,
And my wife and I go. We actually, I think we went to a musical last year. So I've
That's
seen
so
live
funny.
theater somewhat recently.
I saw my wife and I saw Spider Guy, like the Spider-Man musical parody, in Tucson last year, and it was incredible. I was like, it was the first time since COVID that I had seen like
Nice.
a live play. I've seen a lot of I go to wrestling shit all the time, but like, which
Yeah.
is very similar. But yeah, to just see like live drama on a stage again was so nice, so refreshing.
Yeah, it
And
is.
then a few months ago, I went to go see Chris in the inevitable Rise of Arturo Ui, which was like crazy because it's University of Charleston, College of Charleston, or whatever the fuck, some school kids thing. But they did like quite an amazing production, and like it was all this like gangster, like 1930s mafioso shit going on, gunshots everywhere, and I was like, this is so amazing. Like this is
fun.
a million times better than watching a movie. I don't know why people don't do this more often.
There is something there's something irreplaceable about the energy of live theater when you're just kind of going out, you're in the room, and you just see the people kind of bring everything to life on stage. I feel like the Broadway series we get here in Cleveland all the time, it's mostly musicals. Like we don't get a lot of like just plays come through. It's mostly music. And like what's annoying is the recent trend right now is like it's all musicals based on movies. It's almost like at least half of the musicals that come through town are based on movies. Like, so last year we saw the Mrs. Doubtfire musical.
I bet that's awesome.
It was good. I liked it. I'm not gonna lie, I
That's
liked
fun.
it. And right before that, we saw the Beetlejuice musical, which is also really. But then I think the last one we went to, which we actually left at intermission, we left halfway through. It was the Back to the Future musical. Because like we were just sitting there like, yeah, it's fine, but we were kind of getting bored and tired. My wife and I just kind of looked at each other during an intermission. We're like, want to head home. Like we're just not that into it. So I guess if I can put on my critic cap really quick, it's really just like I'm fine with whatever gets made and whatever comes through. Like, let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. I have no problem with musicals based on movies in general. It's just kind of like at a certain point, it starts to feel a little bit lazy. You know, I'm kind of like, okay, I know the story. I know this movie. Like, really need to see it with musical numbers instead of just what it was. I don't know. I guess I appreciate original ideas more than like rehashes. But if rehashes are done well, then great. I'm fine with it. Like I said, the Doubtfire musical was really fun, but at a certain point, we're like, yeah, okay, I guess I'm over it now.
It's just one of those things where it's like if you put on the marquee something that people already recognize the name value of, they'll show up. And if you put it on up something,
It's the same reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same reason movies keep getting rebooted. It's just you know people are going to show up to it if it's a known quantity. I guess it's the same thing with like, hey, let's produce a musical based on a beloved film, and
right.
it's going to make money. So I get it. I know why it happens. I guess, but
Yeah, I don't like it any more than you do. It's just one of those things that we like. That's if somebody was like, "Why is everything a remake?" or "Why is everything like based on something that already?" I'm like, the reason is because the marketing guy knows you'll show up, and
Right.
they have to sell beer and tickets. That's the
Yeah.
business they're in.
It's lower risk to just remake stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I don't even know when's the last time I heard of an original new play or like Broadway musical that swept the nation, you know? Like, cause the last one that was like really, really big was Les Miserables, which was not, not even new or original. It was just popular because of a movie. They made a movie out of it, and now it's in theaters again.
I remember Hamilton being huge. I remember that was a while ago. That was at least 10 years ago when Hamilton really blew up.
Alexander Hamilton
Yeah.
gunfighter
That
one. Yeah.
Yeah. That really blew up, and I knew that that was a cultural movement basically, but, other than that, which it's also funny because my wife was a huge fan of Hamilton, she loved Hamilton, but I didn't get it, I didn't really see the appeal, like, it's like, yeah, I'm a history buff too, so I like history, but, like, the rapping was which don't get me wrong, I love hip hop, there's some of my favorite artists are hip hop artists, but, like, the music numbers in Hamilton sometimes felt like Schoolhouse Rock. It kind of felt like just I don't know, just sort of hip hop for old white people who don't like hip hop is what it sounded like to me.
Yeah, like rapping for Jesus kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, no shade to Hamilton fans. I love you guys. It just wasn't for me. But yeah, Hamilton was big. I think a recent one,
Book of Mormon was really big.
Book of Mormon was huge. Yeah. Another recent one that was really good, that again my wife loved was called Six, just the number 6, but spelled out. It was about King Henry VIII's wives. It was basically like the story of how they all met him, and some of them got executed by him. And it was like, yeah, like this sisterhood of the scorned wives of Henry VIII. That was apparently a really fun musical.
But even that's just Shakespeare. I mean,
yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah. That's King Henry VIII, the play, but from the perspective of the ladies. And The Tudors is the television series version of the same thing.
That's right. And I think the most recent example I can think of, again, I know of these things because my wife, I got to give her the credit. Like I hear about all this stuff through her. The new one that I know of is just called Epic, I think. And it's all based on Greek mythology. It's literally just a retelling of old Greek myths, basically through musical numbers. And yeah, I think to your point about Shakespeare and everything else, like it all ties back into just like we were talking about Doom and the Unreal Tournament and like influencing everything else. Everyone who is doing something creative, whether they know it or not, they're all paying homage to something. Like you're nothing new is ever made completely in a vacuum. Like you're always going to be influenced by what came before you, even in subtle, unknowable ways, basically.
Perfect example. So Chris was like kind of my co-writer with Stellar Valkyrie. Like I wrote the majority of the script, but he was always like proofreading it with me and like, oh, what about this line or what about this idea? How do we move forward here? And then I finished that script. I was like, all right, I'm giving this over to the devs. I'm done writing. You guys all loved it, or at least told me that you loved it, which fine, I'll pay you to tell me that you love it. But then as soon as it was done, he goes, dude, have you ever seen Cowboy Bebop? And I was like, fuck. This is just Cowboy Bebop with words. It's like I wrote Cowboy Bebop but replaced Spike with a bird. In
You
so many ways.
anthropomorphized Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, he's a bounty hunter. He's got to go to all these different planets. His girlfriend is brainwashed, and you're hunting her down, and you have to kill all these people along the way. And I'm like, God damn it! Why didn't someone flag this before? And I wasn't thinking of Cowboy Bebop. I mean, there were definitely like things that I was like influenced by, no doubt, but I didn't until it was like done and I read it all the way through. I'm like, yeah, okay.
You never know, man. It's literally like you don't even have to think about it. It's been done before. Like even if you're not trying to copy someone, like you probably are by not even trying to. And like there's no shame in that. Like you can be overtly inspired by other things or unintentionally sort of channel something that someone else did. Like there's no shame in it at all. That's just the nature of art, I think. There's an old South Park episode kind of about that. The Simpsons did it already, and like the episode ends with the moral of like, yeah, who cares? They've done everything. Like we're not trying to never step on anyone else's toes or do any like retread old ground ever. It's like it's fine to retread old ground sometimes. So I don't know. It's unavoidable, I guess.
This I took Faith to see a marionette puppet show, which I had also never seen in person. Like,
yeah, wow.
I was like, I'm just looking for like shit in the area that's cool to do, for a date or whatever. And so they have a literal whole marionette puppet theater here in Columbia. And I was like, well, that's the answer to my search for a date night next week. So they were showing Snow White, and you want to talk about a shitty childhood? She'd never seen Snow White. Never heard the story. Just blank slate going into this. So I was like, even better. And this is before Disney ruined the movie remake of it too. But it was just so cool to see it in like I know the story, but like in a completely different lens and like told in a new way. Like with this is all marionette. I didn't even realize that like the actors are not acting during the play. They have a track, and they're just puppeting to the track, which in some ways seems harder to me.
Yeah.
Because if you get off step,
right.
impeccable.
Yeah, you got to be really synced up the whole time.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All the sound effects they have to do and like the preparation, and they have to physically carpenters in there build a new set every time they do a new play, which is, I guess they do like every season. They just do a new production entirely.
Wow.
And when it was over, they let us come to the back and like look at the rig that they have and all the stuff that's behind the stage. This little girl, they were like doing a Q&A, and like the guy that runs the place, I guess he's like the creative director or whatever. She like, I thought it would be more like the Disney movie, and I could see the death in his eyes. Like he's just sick of hearing this. He's like, he puts on his happy face and he's like, but you can always go see the Disney movie, and what we want to offer here is just something different. But I could just see the like just the vein popping out in his neck is like, oh, I just want to do something.
Yeah, just like through gritted teeth, just like, we're just doing something different here.
Yeah. And most of their clientele are like kids' birthday parties and school field trips and that kind of. So they do have to cater to that. But he's like, well, next month we're gonna do Greek mythology or something, like just to get this out of my system.
That's fine.
And I really want to I need to ask again, but I tried to get them to come on the podcast. I'm like, I'm just like, how does, because marionetting is just like a dead art form. Like no one does that.
It is impressive and admirable to keep that kind of thing alive. Like it's a lost discipline. It'd be interesting.
For sure. Yeah. And I feel like games could learn so much from stuff like that. Like I'm always thinking that way as a game designer. I'm like, what? And I mean anything. Knowledge can I soak in? I don't know if you ever saw the TV show You're the Worst.
Bits and pieces of it. No, I never actually sat down and watched it though.
So the main character, the British guy, he's a novelist, and he's like hanging out with this older guy who's a more seasoned novelist. But the guy's like a psycho, and he's like never writing. He's like, why are you never writing? He's like, because this is the work. And he's just like, I'm going to run out in traffic and see what happens when you get hit by a car so that I can write about that experience and like all that kind of thing. But I do less dangerously, but try to think that way. Like every experience you have and every little bit of knowledge, like it could be a story point somewhere. Just have that in your Rolodex, and the more experiences you have, the more you can write about.
Absolutely.
Because there's nothing more boring than like an author that you can tell is just writing just the one lived experience they had, like Little House on the Prairie. Not that it's not an absolutely fascinating, amazing drama. I do love Little House on the Prairie. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I don't think Laura Ingalls Wilder did a whole lot else. She lived in a little house on the prairie. She taught school. Her sister was blind. That's it.
That's pretty much it.
Um,
It never hurts to be a well-rounded person with a lot of lived experiences and a lot of perspectives that you've opened yourself up to.
right.
'Cause, you never know where inspiration's going to come from and be useful. So it's always good to be open to new things. If you're a
So the
creator.
script that you're writing, like,
Mhm.
can you tell me anything about it, or is that all?
Sure, yeah, I could
Yeah.
give you the broad strokes. It's essentially a fantasy drama. It's a little bit in terms of setting, like the universe and the tone. It's a little bit of like a mix between like the Dungeons and Dragons kind of setting and a little bit of Witcher kind of thrown in, where it's a little bit more grim fantasy.
Mhm.
And yeah, I guess those are my two main inspirations. Because I've always been I've been a D&D nerd since high school. I've always been really fascinated with the stories that you can tell through Dungeons and Dragons and sort of the tools that the setting gives you.
Correlation between voice acting and D&D nerds. It's like
There's it's that Venn diagram is almost a circle. Yeah, it's a lot of overlap. Uh,
and
to-
radio broadcasters. It's like one or the other. Either you're a radio guy or you're a D&D
Yeah.
guy, or both.
or both. Yeah, in my case, yeah, it's there's a lot of overlap.
Mm.
But yeah, it's essentially it's that setting, but the story beats kind of follow the formula of almost like a odd couple buddy cop mystery, where it's like mismatched partners find themselves in a situation where they have to rely on each other, and like neither of them are very good at trusting, and it's kind of like a hidden threat, and like innocence caught in the crossfire, and it's there's like magic and mysteries and monsters, and it's focused on a handful of important characters, though. I think I find it very important to develop the characters, make everything kind of center on them, and the kind of the action and the set dressing and the environments, all that stuff is sort of secondary. They're important, but like I think first and foremost, I have the characters and their relationships to each other as that's the key, basically. It's I basically have one sort of mini series / one season in mind with 5 episodes kind of plotted out. I have them all outlined. I basically have outlines of 5 episodes. 3 of them are written. I'm working on episode 4 right now, I
Mhm.
believe. I honestly haven't touched it in a bit, so I know I'm close to something resembling a full draft. But yeah, I've been working on it for years. It's been kind of a when I have time for it, I do a chapter or a scene here and there, and yeah, it is basically. It's nice that I've been acting in audio dramas for a few years as well, because I have that sort of experience with the script format. Like I have an idea of like, oh, here's what I need to build a scene out, and I can write that out. And yeah, it's been good. I have some friends here nearby, like in town, that I visit with in person. We actually have meetings roughly once a month. We're all writers. We all work on our own stuff, and we have like a writers club where I meet with my friends, and I try to bring at least one or 2 scenes of the script with me that are new and kind of get feedback on them, and that's been really nice to have that second opinion, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not really ready to reveal much, but that is basically the gist of it.
I think that's really healthy, though, to have like a consistent group of people to just bounce ideas off of.
Absolutely.
And I've never been part of a writers club, right, by any stretch of the imagination, but like that is very much my relationship with like for different things, different people.
Yeah.
Like when it's just throwing game ideas out there, like me and Elijah Allen are like basically every day, just like, what if we did this? What if we did this? And like, what do you think of this idea or whatever? And then if it's writing, Chris and I are always just like back and forth. I can't tell you the number of like scripts that I've read of his that he's like, fuck it, I don't want to, no more of that. I'm like, oh, come on, dude, just finish something. But I mean, that's good though, because you're always like, it sharpens you up, I think, to just
It does.
constantly face that like criticism, and hopefully people who will tell you when an idea sucks, because that's what I need around me, or else I'll just think everything I do is great.
Yeah. No, it's very important to like, get a room going, like get a discussion going in the room of like, hey, what have I not thought of that you think would be good here?
Right.
What do you think could use a? And I get that all the time. Like one of my friends will make a point, like, and I'll be like, oh, I didn't even think of that. I should, I'll make a note of that and revisit that. So no, it's been a huge help for sure.
I know a lot of people that have that tendency to like write themselves into a corner and they don't know how to get out of it. And I think for me, I have like the opposite problem, because I'm so careful not to get into a corner that it makes it difficult to just make a decision about where to go from here. So with Stellar Valkyrie, that was a lot of the struggle I had, is like, I knew going into it what the climax was. Like, this is where I want to end up. And then every step of the way along to that. And it's also a video game. So it's like, I don't need to tell the entire story through you guys, right? Like, I don't, everything doesn't have to be spelled out by you and Chris and Toshi. Like, some of it could just be along the way. And there's some of it that I needed to like recognize, like, okay, I'm not going to spell this out here. It will be in level 5 or whatever. You'll get this thing that will make that clear, and I won't have you won't have to explain it. I feel for like TV show writers, because they're constantly in that situation where they're like, either we fucked ourselves over and we can't get out of this, or we've reached the end of this arc and we don't know what to do next all the time.
Right.
And oftentimes they don't have a choice. Even if it's like, okay, this would be the right way to end it, they're like, but we just ordered another 3 seasons, so figure it out.
Yeah.
Comic books too. It's probably the hardest one, I would imagine.
For sure. Yeah. The creative decisions get compromised by the kind of the real life circumstances all the time, which what's nice about an original screenplay, or sorry, I guess script in my case, like what an original script that I own entirely, when I get around to producing it, it'll kind of be like my decisions about what gets cut, what gets expanded, what happens, who casts what. And like, yeah, if I start working with other actors, which I plan to do, like it'll be, hey, what do you think? Do you have a line in mind that would sound better than what I've written? I'm willing to hear it and like talk about that. So it's good when you have something that's yours and it's your vision, but you're not so precious about it that you won't listen to other ideas. Like I'm definitely open to like, I absolutely, understand that other people have better ideas than me about some things. So it's like, yeah, no, it's not, I think I actually have the same problem as you when I think about writing into a corner. Like I actually have the ending, the kind of the final story beats of each episode and the kind of broader series in general already pretty much decided on. So the problem is I more or less have the big pictures pretty much set, but the details I get hung up on. Like, how do I get from here to there? What do I, what steps do I need to like make a whole scene about? Or alternatively kind of leave to context clues, or like, what can I trust the audience to understand? And what do I need to spell out with dialogue? What can I have the narrator say that wouldn't be out of place? That would be better from a character. It's a lot of decisions like that, and that can.
Yeah,
I get paralyzed a lot when I'm writing. When I'm like trying to sit down and just type out a scene, decisions like that can really stall me. And like, oh, I don't know, I better think about this and come back to it. And like, I've always had a bad procrastination problem too, so that doesn't help. So like, if I give myself a mental excuse to stand up and take a walk and think about it, and then come back and write, yeah, that eats up a lot of time. So.
I think I have the George R.R. Martin problem, where like I only write when I am inspired to do so. Which is a problem when it comes to production schedules, but it's like I could go like months and write nothing, and then one day that cog turns, like just the gear locks in at the right spot, and I'm like, now. And then I might mow through a whole thing. And then as soon as I get to a stopping point where I'm like, I don't know what to do now, I'm like, I'm not going to force this out of myself. I just get up and go back to doing nothing and then return to it when inspiration comes back again. And then I don't find the editing process very difficult. Like for me, like it is not a big deal for me to like, okay, I've had this new idea that contradicts something that I've done before. So I just have to go back and make those tweaks to have this flow better. As long as I have the complete vision of where I'm trying to get to.
Right.
But it's just like you said, like it's the minute details along the way. It's never like the full, arc.
Yeah. I've always found it a lot easier to edit what I just come up with later. Editing's always been easier than writing. If I just force myself to just put something on the page, just let it basically word vomit out of me, just like put something down there so that later I can come back and clean it up. And I've always found it easier to refine rough ideas than to just make them perfect the first time. So that's my process, I guess.
What's like a session look like for you? Like, is the lights are dim, the candles are like, what do you got going on?
Great question. Yeah, when I was doing the first 3 episodes, when I was like kind of plowing through the bulk of the script that I have written so far, my process was, I didn't have a kid yet for most of the script. My wife and I hadn't had our baby yet, so I had definitely more free time, more peace and quiet. So like my process was usually I'd be at my desk right here in my basement. And I have a little record player behind this partition, like back in the other side of the room, with a modest but sentimental vinyl collection. I have a few records that I put on, and so like my roots. Sorry, what?
I said it's all Kiss records. Like,
hey, I wouldn't be mad about it. Kiss is solid sometimes. No, it's a modest record collection, and basically I had this little ritual where I'd put music on, but specifically I'd put vinyl on. I'd put a record on, and then I'd go sit down and just I like I said, I have like the rough concept of almost every scene in mind, or at least I have like whether it's outlined on the page or just I have a rough idea of a scene, like what scene needs to come next, and it's like, okay, we just did that. So now we have to go to the B plot and do that. I have a scene planned out for that. Come back to A plot. I have a scene planned out for that. So yeah, I put a record on, sit down, and just sort of try to get through the scene. I basically have a mental checklist of here's what I need to have happen in this scene. And when those points have all been hit, and I feel like the dialogue and the sort of the narration or sound effects or whatever notes I have in there bring everything together, I'm like, okay, good. That scene's done. I can sort of put a pin in that, think about what I need to have as the intro for the next scene. And so it's just kind of I try to make a mental checklist of it, put on some music. And I think that's the ritual that helps though. Like once I make it a physical act of putting a record on, that's when I mentally kind of flip the switch of like, okay, now it's time to write. Like this is I'm not doing anything else right now. I need to sit down and write. And that was a good habit for me for a while. That's how I wrote a good 2.5 of the episodes I have written so far. So yeah, it worked out. It's hard to do that now though, with the baby and all that. But
yeah, it's something I'm gonna have to get used to. But like, I can't stand to have like my concentration broken and then like have to go do something else and then come back to that mental space. Like for me, it's like I was riding the wave. And then I fell off the wave, and now I'm not going to get on a wave again until another wave comes.
That sucks. I'm afraid I have some bad news for you. Sadly, that's going to be tough for you.
Just learn to live with it. But
yeah,
I'm not mad about it. I
know it's
volunteered, but yeah, it's tough.
I know it's a huge adjustment. Like like I said, my baby's going on 7 months now, but like when we were in the newborn trenches this past fall and winter, like it was just adjusting to the pace of life that you're in now. It's like it's hard. You really got to be patient with yourself. You really got to be nice to yourself in the sense of like you're going to get frustrated. You're going to get exhausted. It's going to be pulling you every which way, and you're going to be freaking out at the the pace of the chaos basically.
Yeah.
So just buckle up and know that it gets easier. You'll get past. I'm sorry, this is turning into dad advice, but
It's okay.
it's gonna be it's gonna be a roller coaster, or at least it was for me, because it's like you'll deal with one little quirk or new thing that you haven't encountered yet, and that'll smooth out, and then the next one, and then that'll smooth out, and so it's kind of a constantly like addressing things, getting used to them, and then the next fucking bullshit happens. that's what my baby was like.
Recently, like, went to an orientation at a Buddhist temple with
Mm.
fully with it in mind that, like, I need to learn how to just let it go, because
That's a good idea.
I am the kind of person, like, if I'll be, like, in my living room reading a book, and then someone will start talking to me, and I'm like, "Can you not see that I'm reading? Like, did it not occur to you that perhaps I'm doing something more interesting than talking to you?"
Yeah.
I'm such an ass about it, and it just can't. You can't be that way with a kid. They don't know any better. Like,
Right.
it's-
Right.
I get it. You need your diaper changed, but Daddy's trying to finish this chapter. Like, it's
Babies
really
can
good.
be so inconsiderate,
No, it's cool, man.
I know it's yeah.
You're listening to KEEP in the Keep. If you love this show and you love supporting indie video games, please take a moment to check out In the Keep's upcoming Stellar Valkyrie. Built in the GZ Doom engine, this retro first-person shooter puts you in the universe of space bird bounty hunter Falco, who is on a mission to save his ex-girlfriend from the evil Black Star cult. Just type birdgame.space, that's BIRD game.space into your browser. Hit enter, smash the wishlist button, and stay tuned. When you look at something like Stephen King's On Writing, or even like Lovecraft, there's like his stuff about horror, like just the writing process in general, and like it's such a, for some people it's just like such a discipline. They're super consistent, and they have their like, I think it's healthy. Like, they have their rituals, like this is the time, this is the space, or whatever. And then I'm so not that. I'm the most undisciplined. Just like it, I will get up and just like go be in my garden for like 2 hours, like trimming tomato plants or whatever, and then like get an idea of like, ooh, I'm gonna run back in there, type this down real quick. All right, back to that. But once I'm like, I think the idea phase comes easy. Like, I love the experience of just like sitting down with 2 or 3 people that you trust and just throwing ideas on a Miro board or something like that. Like, okay, this is cool, like all that. But then when it's the nitty gritty, like get down and put something on the page part, I need silence. Like, I don't even want music on most of the time. Or if it has to be like music with no words, like, because I'll just drift off into that, or I'll find myself writing down literally what I'm hearing and then not even being cognizant of it.
That's a good point. Yeah, the music I play, like the records I played when I was doing most of my writing. So I hope to get back to that routine eventually. It has to be music I'm very familiar with. Like, I've heard a million times before. It has to be like basically like comfort music, like comfort food records. Like, and I don't really own any vinyl that isn't kind of a comfort food record that I haven't listened. I've listened to a million times.
Alan,
otherwise it's like, what's it?
I'm just throwing out crazy stuff that I would think is in your record collection, like Kiss, Alan Parsons Project.
Not quite. Have you ever heard of Fontaine's DC?
I'm a big fan of Fontaine's DC.
Oh my God,
especially their first record, man. Like the Irish kind of punk rock band. Like
it's called Dog Roll, right? Is that what their first album's called? Or
yeah, but I'm gonna break out my Spotify playlist now.
Yeah, dude. I don't know.
So funny you bring them up, because
I don't know a lot of people who know them or are fans. That's refreshing. I'm glad to hear that.
Steve, that was like one of the original co-founders of In the Keep, was really into them, and I was a huge fan of the Germs and stuff like that. And he was like, if you like that kind of stuff, you'll be really into Fontaine's DC. Or like Joy Division was one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, I love Joy Division. Yeah, big time. Big fan of Joy Division. I play bass now too. That's an instrument I actually joined Yeah, cool. And yeah, Peter Hook from Joy Division and New Order as well. He's a big inspiration of mine. I love his approach to the bass. But yeah, Fontaine's DC I got into a few years ago. I think specifically from their album Skinty Fia, one of their more recent ones.
Yep.
So I have Skinty Fia on vinyl, and I also have the one right before it, A Hero's Death. And those two are the records I probably cycled the most when I was writing my script, and when I've kind of I've beaten those albums to death. I know them almost front to back now, so it's like, yeah, I can just put them down. It's chill. I'm not really paying attention to them. It's more of a atmospheric thing. But no, you're totally right. Like if you have your ideas already and you know what you want to execute on, and you just need the peace and quiet and the space to sit down and do it, yeah, you don't need distractions. I totally get that.
I really like listening to jazz when I'm
Mm.
writing, or classical music,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, where it's
I get that. Yeah.
like, for whatever reason, I just find it easier to concentrate when there's no words. And
Yeah.
sometimes it could even be electronic music. I'm not like the biggest electronic music person in the world, but like there's
Yeah.
certain records
Some of 'em.
that are just no lyrics or whatever, and I can just like kind of get lost in it. Like,
I get
and
that. Yeah.
it's like you said earlier, it's records that I'm like 100%, like I know every song on this like the back of my hand. I've heard it a million
Yeah.
times, and it doesn't
Yeah.
distract me. Like
I,
Laserhawk, Redline. I can't tell you how much math, like passed a math class on that record.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
You ever heard of Glitch Mob?
Glitch Mob. I have heard of, but I'm not.
Yeah, I like Glitch Mob. They have a couple good albums. Oh, actually, like as far as instrumental, like no vocals music, I really love is there's a genre called post rock. Post rock is really good for that, where it's like
Just
really
noise.
atmospheric. It's almost like prog rock. It's very progressive and like technical, but almost symphonic, but not stringy. Um, a good example, a band I love, I'm a huge fan of. They're called If These Trees Could Talk. They're actually from right here in Ohio. It's from Akron, and yeah, I have a couple of their albums on vinyl, I think, and they're just really really easy listens. Like they're so atmospheric. They're just really. It's almost like white noise, but with like shredding guitars, if that makes sense. It's really
Now
crazy.
that's how I feel about like black metal.
Hmm.
Wolf in the Throne Room, or like
Yeah.
Gruesome and that kind of stuff, where it's just it. The point of this is the atmosphere, and it is almost like white noise, but there's also
Yeah.
like this incredible musical technicality that's going on
Absolutely.
in the fuzz, that kind of thing.
Big
But that's
time.
like setting the stage for like when it's time to work is a big deal, and I know for different people it's it's totally a different thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Everyone needs
I've al-
something different.
I've always been like a more like locomotive thinker, so like it is hard for me to sit down and just focus on something. But if I'm walking or running or riding my bike or whatever, I'm just like full of ideas, crazy
Yeah.
stuff.
That's good.
Or the old, all the best ideas come while you're on the toilet or in the shower or something like that. You can't write it down.
Yeah.
Good.
For sure.
So what was your life arc before in your 30s deciding to pursue voice acting and creative work like this?
Good question. Yeah. Honestly, I feel like I missed out on a lot in my 20s. I think a lot of my 20s were just kind of spent sort of figuring shit out and just trying to get my career going essentially. Because I went to college for journalism, so I started my career as a newspaper reporter. That's kind of what I did right out of college. That's what I was, that was my day job for a few years. And what's that?
That's cool.
It was okay. Like the work was interesting. I did some interesting stuff, but the pay was shit. Obviously, it
Yeah.
was not. I didn't get rich off of it at all. And I kind of stayed in that general industry for a few years. And I was kind of just my 20s. I was working. I was hanging out with friends here and there. I was just kind of playing video games, watching movies. I was just kind of dicking around. I didn't really have a lot of hobbies that I really put energy into or really built anything out of. It was kind of like existing, basically, drifting more or less. I met my now wife. I'm my girlfriend at the time when we were both still in our early mid 20s when we met. So we've been together fucking forever at this point. Yeah, I feel like my 20s, I don't want to say I wasted them, obviously, because I just didn't really know much yet. And it was not until I was 29, basically about to turn 30. My wife and I, still girlfriend at the time, we moved into our house together. We were, stabilizing a bit. Our lives were getting a bit more stable. And
Mm.
was, working full time still and all that stuff. And I think what really sparked it was for me, like in my early 20s, in my 20s after college, I was playing a lot of video games that were getting increasingly more story driven. Like I was kind of noticing that more of the games I was playing were really story driven and really supported and brought to life by their casts more than what I expected or like what I was used to. I think as a kid, I was playing like PlayStation 2 games where the performances and the stories were kind of secondary. They weren't they weren't the focus. But then I was playing like Uncharted and The Last of Us and these games that are like
Mm.
very cinematic. And I was starting to notice like, oh, the characters in these games are like, oh shit, these are actual actors doing this. And I kind of realized like, oh, that could be something I could do maybe. And I'd done drama class or club in high school. I had done sketch comedy and improv workshops in high school. So I had like some grounding in acting and performing, but I just really, like I said, really got away from it in my 20s after college. I just didn't have time for it. I didn't make the time for it or make the space for it. But I think, I was about to turn 30 and I was like, I think it's time to get serious. Let's actually figure this out. If this is something you want to do, you should look into it. And so, I just started doing some research. I met my first coaches and started doing some like getting an understanding for the ropes in the industry and like where to find the work and how to get it and all that stuff. And did my first few auditions and just kind of kept it going. It was always
so
with the
admirable that you like took it seriously to the point where you're like, I'm gonna go get some coaches and that kind of stuff. Because like just
Yeah.
in our circles alone, how many people do you know that are like, I'm just gonna be a voice actor, and they don't do any of the like work involved. And not even criticizing it. It's you could totally get paid work doing that, but it's just like
Sure.
a different mindset altogether. Whereas you were like, I'm gonna go get some coaches and like work with people and take this like a serious craft kind of deal. It's a interesting way of
I
looking at it.
saw it. Thank you. Yeah, I saw it as like a not a shortcut, but as like the most logical way to start. I was like, well, I don't really know. I'm going in blind, so I think it's best to talk to someone who knows more than me and like sort of see what I can find out. And honestly, I don't know where I'd be without my early coaching because, like I said, I knew nothing. So it was really valuable to have that foundation and early skill set, which unfortunately it also meant I had some bad habits to unlearn early on. You're always learning, you're always getting better. You're never done learning, obviously, but like I think I don't know how else I would have gotten my feet under me without my early mentors. So
You're really versatile. Like that's one of the things that's cool about you is that if I say like, could you just completely change the way that you're doing this? Like with Elder Castro, we like tried several different versions of what that would sound like, and it was just, I could like give you adjectives, and you could come back with something that's like what I'm asking for. Whereas, like from myself, and I've done a few voice acting roles, but it's never. I'm not acting. It's like I'm basically just a typecast. Like if you want my voice as the character, I can do that. But if you ask me to do Winnie the Pooh, no chance. Like
right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I honestly, I don't really feel I'm all that versatile. I feel a little limited sometimes. I know I have range. I know I have like things I can do, but I appreciate that. I like hearing that I'm versatile because I don't always feel that versatile because I think
I'm not going to hire you to play Cinderella, but I mean,
ah, damn.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Oh, I'm kidding. No,
I would like to actually. Now that I've said it out loud, let's try it. So,
yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But no, I have always felt that I have like a window. It's like it's a range, but it's like a spectrum. Like there's way up here that I'm never gonna do. There's way down here that I can't really do. But there is a window that is like within this window I can play around. I can try different things and I can modulate and I can, you know, which I'm gratified to hear that you find me versatile because it's a good thing to be. But I think what I've gotten away from or what I've tried to steer away from is the obsession with being able to do voices. I think like you've probably noticed this. I think a lot of people who are interested in voice acting, they get this misapprehension that they have to be able to quote unquote do voices. And that's not really it's a nice skill to have. If you can do like an impression of a crazy cartoon character, that's cool. Like that's impressive. But I think what I learned over the years, and I think Chris would appreciate this. I think Chris probably feels similarly that when you put the emphasis on the acting over the voice, like it should be lowercase v, uppercase a, like your intention and your ability to channel emotion in your performance, that's way more important than what you sound like, if that makes sense. Because I think
Yeah.
my bad habit that I sort of developed early on was I would begin a performance, or if I was like looking at a script and I was trying to like kind of get into character basically, and I was trying to decide how I was going to approach a role or a scene or whatever, I would start with what do I need to sound like? Do I need to be up here or should I be down here? Or is it like what am I do? Like I would start with how I'm going to try to modulate my throat to like sound a certain way. When what I really should have been doing, what I've tried to learn to do now as a habit is like, no, what's the emotion here? Like who am I? Who am I talking to? Who am I, trying to elicit a response from? Like what it's really more about like, yeah, just the emotion and starting there. So I always think about what one of my favorite coaches, probably the best coach I've worked with, wonderful, wonderful guy named David Sobolov. I learned so much from him. He's a wonderful dude. He would always tell me, just have a conversation. Just have no, don't worry about what you're going to sound like. Just have a conversation. Like talk to me. You know, be a real person talking to another real person, even if you are both cartoon mutant sharks, for example. It doesn't matter what your characters are. You still need to have a conversation and sort of be human and relatable. And he would always tell me like the voice will follow. Start with the emotion and the voice will follow. You can tweak it and like play with it after the fact, but start with the emotion. And so that was kind of the better habit that I tried to get into after sort of trying to break my old habit. But yeah, that's my little rant on on acting and how acting's more important than the voice, I guess.
I definitely think that's true. And it's also just like, I don't envy the position because it's like a lot of the time you're just being hired to do a job and the director or whoever has an idea of what they want. And if you don't fit it, you're out the door or whatever.
Right. Right.
I hope I don't come across that way. I'd never really liked to work that way.
No.
With Stellar
Not at all.
Valkyrie in particular, it's like I wrote Falco for Chris. Like he was chosen from the jump. And then I needed you to be Elder Castro. We had to figure out what that character was even going to sound like. And then honestly, the most difficult one was Cat because we had so many different people audition for that part. And it was one of those things where it's like, I can't give you a list of adjectives that are going to make you sound like Cat. I just need someone who, when I hear their voice, sounds like this character.
Yeah.
And Toshi's zero experience as a voice actress. She just, like was in a Facebook group or something where she was like exploring the idea because she does a lot of creative things, mostly like this, makeup and cosplay kind of shit. And she just had the right voice. There was one actress before her, who I swear she was a comedian. She was like a stand-up comic. Chris and I saw her in a bar. We were just like at an open mic night and we were like, her voice is perfect. So we just like went up to her after the fact. No, we didn't even go up to her because we couldn't find her. We contacted the bar, asked them to get us in contact with her, got her phone number, talked her into it, and then she backed out. She's like, it's not good for my brand. but she just had this like amazingly like she was like from Mexico, like really deep Hispanic accent that was like
Interesting.
perfect. And then so then from that point on, I'm like, okay, well, Kat's just Hispanic. And then when she backed out, we were like, now we have to completely reinvent the character because we're not gonna go put out a fucking ad for like we were looking for someone with a atrocious Mexican accent. And Toshi was perfect for the job, but it did take her a lot of effort to be able to do voice acting because she hadn't done it before. So like I think honestly Chris probably scared her away from it. He was taking it really seriously, like, okay, let's do like 15 different takes and bounce it off of me and all this stuff. And I think that she had the idea that she was just gonna like just read the lines. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not faulting her for that.
No,
But
yeah.
it was a lot of hard work.
Right. It is interesting how, like as a director, as someone who is writing characters, you might have an idea in your head of what a character will sound like, but and you might be looking for that when you're auditioning people for that role, but then you might hear something that like, oh, I didn't realize that is how I wanted this character to sound. Like
Right.
someone might come along and just like know what you wanted before you even knew you wanted it, basically. And it's really cool how the actor can influence the character and really like kind of they bleed into each other, basically.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It's amazing, and I think you have to, as a writer or director, you have to be open-minded to different ideas like that.
Yeah.
Because, if I had $1 million for this game, I would have hired Doja Cat because that's exactly like she's drawn. Her name is Cat because I wanted Doja Cat to be this character. I was like that. Like I'm writing this character. She's a weird, elusive female who like obviously ain't got no time for no fucking man shit, whatever. That's what I want. So if I could have hired Doja Cat, that would have been my first call, but I couldn't. So then I had to be really open-minded and be like, okay. And then, like I said, it was multiple times over, like that voice, that's what I want. Need that. Because
Have you told Toshi that you should tell her, hey, I couldn't get Doja Cat, but I got you. Like, just tell her that she's right behind Doja Cat.
You were third in line after Doja Cat. No, I mean, I'm happy that it ended up the way it is, and it was
me
a lot,
too, absolutely.
yeah, a lot less costly than I'm sure Doja Cat would have been, and probably,
Yeah,
from what I've heard, less difficult to work with. But,
yeah, for sure.
But I mean, maybe one day I'll make that happen.
Who knows? Anything can happen. Yeah.
Just I need you to sound like a jazz singer who smoked like 800 cigarettes this morning, and you would be perfect for this role. So. Then I'm going to have someone who's like straining their voice and smoking cigarettes to try to sound right. I can't have that either. Suing me later for giving them lung cancer or some shit. But, yeah, it's a really great process to go through is to just see all the different ways that a character can manifest. And then you end up with something totally different than what you maybe had in mind in the first place.
Absolutely.
So I'm, as it stands right now, like hopefully all the drawing for the scenes will get finalized in the next few months or whatever. We've been working Maria to death. Like she's doing so many things that it's impossible to. I feel so horrible for Maria, but she's
shout out to Maria. She's killing it.
Yeah, but I can't wait for this game to come out. Like it's been such a journey, such a learning experience, and if it had been finished when I originally thought it wouldn't be the same game. There's no chance. So
it's transformed, I'm sure. Yeah.
But what is your experience from the contractor side of things, like dealing with all these people with these creative ideas and timelines and shit, and just like being patient with how it all actually shakes out?
Yeah, no, it's been weird, but like honestly, it's been easy. Like it's kind of like the weird part is like the start and stop of like, as an actor, I this is actually the pace of projects I'm used to having worked on, where it's like I'll come in, do my part, then step back and watch everything else happen, and every now and then I'll get an update on where things are at, and at a certain point it's almost like, hey, it'll be out when it's out. In the meantime, I'll just do my own thing. My job is done basically, but I'm still like I'm involved in the sense that like I'm still curious about what's happening and how things are coming together, but it's also like it's a weird sense of having your hands off. Like once I understand, for example, for Elder Castro as example, like once I understood like what was required of me for that character, and when Chris and I were just we took that one day basically, we took a few hours one day to just get in on a call together. I got my booth and we just went through the lines together. And yeah, having him in my ear sort of guiding me was great. It was a great experience. I loved it. And once I had that once I knew what I needed to do for the character and once the lines were done, then it was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just sort of sit back, kick back and watch the ride and enjoy the process as the game sort of comes together and it'll be done when it's done basically. Because I've that's been the way it is for several other projects I've done. I filmed a basically an independent short animation or short film. It's actually part live action, part CGI. That a guy I know here in Cleveland, he's a genius filmmaker and animator. He's honestly like a madman. He is so skilled and talented. But yeah, like he had me do this part in this short film of his. We filmed it coming up on 2 years ago now, and ever since then, it's been like, "Hey, guys, here's the new render of this scene," or like, or he actually had me come in and do pickups for a couple of my scenes more recently. So again, like long timelines for projects are not new to me. It's an interesting feeling of I come in, I do my part, I step back and kind of watch it happen. It's weird, but no, it's cool. Like you said, it's cool to sit back and watch experts in other fields do their thing. Basically, like watching Maria turn the art around and watching all the other guys kind of build the levels and seeing the sprites and the objects and the just everything else come together. It's interesting. It's really cool to be a passenger for and in having a part in it. Like the fact that I'm still getting my head around the fact that like, oh, I voiced a character in this thing that's turning into a video game, and it's like I'm watching it happen, and it's blows my mind. It's really cool. I'm really gratified for it. Fun fact, really quick story. I'll tell you really quick. When you and I and Chris and Naib was his name,
Yeah.
Naib. Yeah, when we all got on that call together to sort of that was like my informal audition for Castro, I guess.
Yeah.
When we all got together and did that, and we had the discussion, and I was basically told like, "Yeah, you got it, it's yours." And we hung up, and I stepped out of my booth and I called my wife immediately because she was at her parents' house or something. I called her and I said, "I just got a video game role," and I was psyched. I was on the top of the world. It was so cool because yeah, I haven't done a lot of video games yet. I've recorded for a few now. I don't think any of them are out, so they're all still in development. But yeah, the fact that like that was one of the first ones I got, I was ecstatic. So and it's been fun to watch ever since.
I had like a similar experience, but I didn't have to audition for Slayer's X Terminal Aftermath Revengeance of the Slayer or whatever the fuck. I don't even know the whole name of the game. But like it was an interesting thing is like I think it was after the first or second Realms Deep, Jay had messaged me and is like, "Hey, I have this game idea. I think you would be great for it." I'm like, "Sign me up." I've never done that before, but if you think I'm the right guy for the job, I'll do it for free, just for fun, like just to say I did it. And then a year goes by, and I didn't hear anything. And I was just like, one day I remembered it, and I was like, I wonder what's going on with that. So I just typed him back like, "Hey, what happened with that? Is that still a thing?" And he's like, "Oh, no, I have this other part for you. Here." And he just gave me the script for what would ultimately be Mevin Ranyald's. And I was I hadn't seen a picture of the game. I had no idea what to expect. But he just explained, he's like, "I just really like your voice for this." I'm like, okay. So I ended up actually like rewriting the character's part because he wanted it to be this southern, like kind of rednecky character. And there's a lot of the English that I'm like, okay, no southerner would say this. I'm not going to enunciate this or whatever. Like, lots of apostrophes and,
Right.
ain'ts instead of won't or whatever. And then I just like I did it all in like 2 or 3 takes and just sent it all to him, and then it was like, thanks. Here's I don't know whatever the money was. It wasn't a lot, but I didn't want it in the first
Yeah.
place. I was like, and then I didn't even know when the game came out, except that like several people were like, "Have you really this game? Like the guy sounds just like you." I'm like, that's weird. I tried to keep it a secret for a little while, and then I had to like fess up to it. But
That's funny.
But as soon as like I had done it and it was like it was gonna be real, I'm like called my mom and I'm like, I guess I'm gonna be in this like thing now. Like it's a odd feeling when you know
Yeah,
like there's something off in the horizon that's like eventually gonna come up. That's something
it
that I've
is. Yeah.
always found interesting about being an actor in general, is like having to do press for something that may have happened like years in the past for you.
Yeah, that you barely remember making. Like that's the weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like when you talk to, I don't know, Leonardo DiCaprio's on like The Late Show, some shit like that, and they're like, "Oh,
Right.
tell us about your experience with this film," and it's like, "Oh, that was a whole lifetime ago."
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
he's being honest, like, "Oh," and they all say the same, like, "Oh, the director, he was fantastic, and the crew, and I loved it," but I was like, "This is a long time ago in
Yeah.
most cases."
Yeah.
Um, so that's
Absolutely.
odd. When I interviewed John St. John,
Mm.
and
Oh yeah.
when I was like, "What was it like to work on Half-Life? What was it like to work on like this or that or whatever, like Sonic the Hedge, you name it." And after like 2 or 3 of those, he cut me off and he's like, "I'm not trying to be rude, but when you ask me this, like, what was it like? They're all the same. I walk into a booth, I read the lines, I hit the send button, and then I don't look at it again
Yep.
until it comes out. Like that's
Yep.
every job is the same to me." I'm like, "That's so crazy." Like
Yeah.
because in my mind, it's like this whole process, and like it's from my perspective, it is a whole
Yeah.
process.
Yep.
But for him, it's just another day on the job.
He's not wrong. Yeah, like especially if you're in his position and it's what you do day in day out for a living. Like yeah, it's all going to run together. It's all going to be like just show up, punch the clock, like read the script. And yeah, when you get to that level, when you're a professional, like script interpretation is one of the hardest things I've ever had to learn. And I'm still still trying to get good at it. It is a skill where like if you just take the lines, like you're given a character and you get the lines, like you gotta just scan them and immediately hone in on what emotion you're trying, like what you're trying to do, like the whole scope of it. And you gotta do it like that and just turn it around and send it in. So yeah, it's a grind at that point. So I'm glad that like, for example, when this game is out and people are able to play it, like I'll be able to like, you know, hear it myself, like hear my lines and remember like, "Oh, wow, I barely remember recording those," but now it's
Don't even
like
remember saying that. Like
yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy. I'm glad that like I don't do this kind of thing so often that like the novelty of that is lost on me. You know what I mean? Like I'm glad that there's still some impact to the idea of hearing myself in something and knowing like, "Oh yeah, I recorded that however many years ago, and now here it is." Like people can hear it. Yeah.
That's the other interesting thing with film and animation and games, is that when you do it, you don't have the full picture. Like you don't know what it's going to look like or the
Yeah.
context of the scene, where it happens in the story in a lot of cases, and then like the editing that goes into that, like seeing it all put together. Like, wow, that made it sound like I really knew what I was doing, even though I didn't. Um, like I can't imagine like being on a Robert Rodriguez movie where it's all, like Machete or Sin City or something, where you're just basically in a room no bigger than this garage with a green screen. And then
Right.
when you see the final product, it all edited together with all the crazy effects and shit going on, and they make it seem so realistic and like, wow, that was just like a Tuesday. He's also famous, like amongst actors, for like Robert Rodriguez apparently will bring you in and shoot every scene you're gonna do in like a couple of days and send you away.
Wow.
He's like,
Wow.
whereas a lot of productions, it's like you're sitting in your trailer for 6 months,
Right.
doing drugs or whatever, just waiting for something to happen. He's like, no,
He's efficient about it. Yeah.
yeah, super. Like, I think Lady Gaga did all of her stuff for Machete Kills in 1 day.
Wow.
And yeah, like everything that she did was just like, come in, we'll shoot you out in a day, and you can go right back to being on tour. No problem.
That's crazy.
I'd like to learn from that level of production. I think that'd do.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
That time management is insane.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Well, what else do you have like in mind creatively? Like you've got this audio drama you're working on. You have like multiple different games that you're waiting for them to come out. But like,
Yeah. So Oakbridge season 2, I'm actually currently recording for. To be perfectly honest, I'm behind on. I can blame the baby again for that. It's when I have time, I'll duck away and do some lines here and there. But I am really excited. Season 2 for that show was really well received. Season 1 was, and I'm really excited for season 2. That's been very gratifying work because the character I play in Oakbridge, Deputy Jack Harris, he really is like a shade of myself. I really find myself being able to pour into him and relate to him pretty closely. And the voice I do for him is not that challenging. It's basically just my natural speaking voice, but gruffed up and sort of like more, older and grouchier. And it's fun though. It's really fun work, and I'm excited for that to come together when I finally get caught up on my lines and my scenes. But yeah, so I got that going. I actually just recently recorded for some kind of VR game. Actually, these guys brought me in for some sort of VR game where I played basically an NPC that I think the player can like bump into and start fights with. Basically, that involved a lot of screaming, so I kind of blew my voice out that day, but it was still a lot of fun. And yeah, basically life is a balancing act right now. I got I got the career, I've got the full-time job, I got, balancing the marriage and parenthood and friends and family obligations and all that stuff, and keeping the house in order and carving out time for
stay sane. Like, how do you?
Yeah, honestly, just carving out a few minutes here and there for my hobbies, like that's really what keeps me going. Like, yeah, that is how you stay sane. It really is just reclaiming some time for yourself, some peace and quiet when you can. Like I said earlier, I play bass. I actually started learning the bass last year.
Who's your favorite bass player?
Favorite bass player. If I had to pick one, I'd probably have to say Duff McKagan.
Okay.
From Guns N' Roses and Velvet Revolver.
Yeah.
Duff is my hero. He's an amazing guy. I actually read his book. He has a memoir that you can read. It's called "It's So Easy and Other Lies." It's basically his whole life story. Really interesting stuff. But I second place, close second. I gotta say Robert DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots.
I'm a big STP fan, man.
Love STP.
Best live. Well, top 3 best live concerts I've ever seen.
I believe it. I believe it. I want to see them so bad. They have a new singer now, Jeff Gutt.
I would never volunteer to be the singer of STP.
Oh my God, that's such a thankless job. What a first.
Oh.
Yeah, they've lost 2 singers now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I don't know if I could go on. Like, that's rough. Like,
thing is though, like, the new guy's really good, and they seem to have a good thing going. Like, they have a good dynamic going now. I'm happy for them.
I'd sleep with one eye open though if I was the singer of STP. Like,
Jeff, please be careful. Please just take care of yourself.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, those were probably Peter Hook I mentioned earlier.
Big fan of Peter Hook too.
Big fan of him. Paul Simonone from The Clash. I love his stuff too. He's a fan of his. Mark Stormer from The Killers. I'm actually very fond of. He has a good approach. I like his style.
You seem to like bass players that like play what's the word for the syncopated, bass style where it's like
syncopated. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, like,
a bit. Yeah.
Very punk
style
thing. Yeah.
I definitely gravitate toward the punk style of bass playing. It's pretty straightforward, just kind of like building the groove. I'm not a show off with it. Like I don't think I'll ever be like the showy bass player who's like slapping and arpeggioing around the shit. It's like, no, that's not what I'm here for. Like, I just want to build the groove and kind of like be the spine of the song. I'm not trying to. But what's cool though, like with Peter Hook especially, he had some very melodic hooks with it.
He's
aptly named
one of very few bass players that really plays the high register of the bass.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
most
he would
bass
do that a lot.
players are down on the E string most
Yep.
of the time, and Peter
Yep.
Hook would be almost the lead of the song in many cases. Like if you're
Yeah.
going back and listening to like the just especially New Order's stuff. I mean,
Uh-huh.
he's playing up here, way up
Yeah.
on the fretboard, and you wouldn't even know some of the time that it was a bass if you weren't watching him play it.
Yeah. Especially like Love Will Tear Us Apart by Joy Division. Great Joy Division
Oh, yeah.
song. That's a bass melody. It's a do 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 do. It's catchy. So yeah, he would really build the melody with the bass, which isn't conventional, but he would also other songs he would just kind of fit in the groove. He would build the foundation, the spine of the song. Robert DeLeo, he was a mastermind of just like the melodic bass lines that weren't just root notes. He wouldn't just play root notes. He was not a root note guy.
Yeah.
I say was, he's still alive. He would really like think of ways to rhythmically support what the lead guitar was doing, what his brother Dean DeLeo was doing on the guitar, and like stand apart from the drum line. Like he was the rhythm, but more like rhythm plus. No, it's cool. I love thinking about this stuff. But then you have Duff, who, he would most of the time he would just kind of fit into the background of the song. But every now and then his bass lines would kind of jump forward in the mix. Like he would cut through here and there. But Duff was really good at picking his moments to cut through the mix in the song and like stand out with his bass line, but then kind of fall back and support again. Like it was great. Like, yes, like a lot of the Guns N' Roses songs had just this amazing groove to them. Rocket Queen is one of my favorites. Rocket Queen has this tremendous bass line, this bass groove to it.
Mm.
No, I love that shit. So I guess long story short, to come back to your question, that's been an outlet that kind of keeps me grounded when, just things are busy at home, or I'm kind of, pissed off at work, or I'm just, a little crabby. I joined a band last year too. So I have like these guys that I hang out with, like friends of mine that I play with now. We're all dads. We're just a dad cover band, basically. It's very low key, casual, but like that gets me out of the house. It gets me like in a room with other people. It gets me to like creatively express, and that's exactly what you need when you're just like burnt out from watching a baby, like raising a baby. Which, don't get me wrong, like it's important work. I'm so glad I'm doing it. I love being a dad. It's been a blessing, obviously. But yeah, you gotta like take some time back for yourself occasionally when you can. It's really important for your mental health. So
I've always loved playing music with a group of people. It's like
oh yeah,
that
there's nothing
was
like it.
my first love. Like really was I wanted to be in a band and all that stuff. And as from 11 to basically 17, that's the only thing I could imagine myself doing was being in a band.
Absolutely.
Then it's honestly like when I got into wrestling, that was like the first time in my life I had another thing that I wanted to do that wasn't just play the bass in a rock band. But I never stopped playing, and I think that so many people like look at stuff like that and they're like, "Oh, well, I gave up," or whatever. And I never look at anything like that. I'm always just like, "Okay, I'm just gonna go do this other thing now," and I can always return to that. Like, it could be literally tomorrow. Somebody might call me and be like, "Dude, you want to be in a band?" I'm like, "If we can make it work with my family, like, I don't feel like, why not?"
If I can make time for it, let's do it. Yeah,
Yeah, but
that's the spirit. Yeah, for sure.
I play more than anything now. I play the banjo, which is weird.
Hell yeah. Nice.
Yeah, when I got out of, I'd always wanted a 6-string banjo. Like it was like one of those like instruments that I always wanted and never bought for myself. And then like when I was getting out of the Air Force, a bunch of my, like supervisor and fellow staff sergeant type folks pulled together and bought me one as like my going away.
Wow.
So I didn't want a stupid plaque. Like I was like, I don't want a fucking plaque that says like "Go Bobcats" on it or whatever. So they gave me a banjo, and I was like sick. And then I just basically like fell in love with the instrument.
That's awesome.
I was originally a bass player, and I also play guitar. I also played the drum. I was like one of those guys that like whatever the band doesn't have, I'll play that. But
oh yeah, no,
the bass was always
great.
my primary instrument. But
That's
yeah,
cool.
playing the banjo has been really neat because you don't have sustain at all. Like you can't play a chord and let it ring the way you can. You don't have
Interesting.
feedback. You don't have any of that stuff. So you
Yeah.
have to like be very. You have to keep playing to fill
Keep it
the
going.
room,
Yeah.
and learning to do that and sing at the same time. And I can do that by myself. Like I don't need to have
Wow.
like 15 people around. But every once in a while, I have like some friends come over and like bring a guitar, bring a whatever, bring some
That's awesome.
percussion stuff, and like do a little thing.
That's
But I'm
awesome.
glad I grew up where I did, because that was like a big tradition. You have a lot of the bluegrass and country music
Yeah.
people will just like sit on a front porch with acoustic instruments and play all day, and like
It's
it
great.
teaches you to be really versatile and learn fast. And so instead of like when I talk to my friends who are like classically trained musicians, if it's not like on the paper for them to read, they cannot play it. Like just the idea of jamming is
Yeah.
like shout out a key and everybody just plays is completely
Yeah.
foreign to them. Whereas like jazz, blues, country, bluegrass people can all just walk in the middle of a song and start playing and make it
Go with
work.
the flow. Yeah.
And I like that a lot.
That's awesome.
Um,
Yeah. I started out on the guitar too. My first instrument was a 6-string electric guitar. I had like a Squire Strat that I had in
Hell
like
yeah.
middle school and
the whammy
tried to
bar,
learn with the
the
way.
one-way
Yeah.
whammy bar. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's it.
Trash.
So I
I'm just fucking
yeah. It was a toy. It was a glorified toy, basically. Decent. Like it's okay to learn on, but yeah.
I mean,
Um,
that's like everybody's. Most people, their first guitar is
Yeah.
the basic Squire with the 15-watt amp and the
Right.
little halfway whammy bar, and it's a great instrument to learn on. Not
Yeah,
wrong.
good to learn on. Yeah, that's what I had. I think I got that in like 8th grade for a birthday present or something. And I went to college and kept trying to teach myself. I eventually got like a nicer Ibanez RG so I could like really shred and do power chords on and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
it was a self-taught situation where I was like in my dorm room. I was off in college. I was like trying to like just kill time. I was like, yeah, I'll look up. I taught myself how to learn tablature or read tablature. So I'd like look up random riffs and just songs I liked and try to learn to play them. But I never like built a real skill set. I never like just got proficient at the chords and the blues scales and the progressions, and I never got a handle on any of that advanced stuff or even basic stuff, honestly. And so I basically put the guitar down years ago. I never really touched it again. And then a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, the fall of 23. That's actually when I last got laid off from a job, like my last period of between work. I had time to kill, and I decided I'm going to give bass a try. Like I've tried guitar for years and didn't really get it. But I gave the bass a try. Again, my first bass was Squire. It was just a Squire Precision Affinity Series Precision bass. And once I started trying it out, like I fell in love with it. It was like, this is way more my speed. Like this is I definitely gel with this more. And it's been what really put me over the edge though was like, when I met my band on Facebook, I was like on like a local musicians page, and these guys were looking for a bass player, and I was like, I'll come try out, give me a few songs to learn and I'll come jam with you guys. And it clicked. Like once we started playing together, I was like, oh, this is great. Like like you said, like the feeling of playing with other people, for me, it's irreplaceable. There's nothing quite like it. It's such a one of a kind feeling of like locking in with other people and just, feeling the rhythm and all that. It's great. It's amazing.
Yeah. I think like ideally nowadays, because I have so many other things going on, like I would love to just work with someone who writes all their own songs and like has a vision for what they want to do, and then I would just play every instrument but the one that they play, and that would be great. Like
Yeah.
I have this one friend who this will probably happen one day because he's building a music studio right now, and
Nice.
he's a songwriter and a great, amazing guitar player. And I was always just like, if you ever get ready to record an album, I will play every instrument on the album that you can't play, which is basically all of them. So I'll fly out. I'll take like a few weeks or whatever. You have the songs ready. I'll do the drums. I'll do the bass. I'll play the rhythm guitar. Like throw some keys on it, whatever you want, as long as I don't have to be the one who manages everything. Because the most exhausting part of trying to like take a band seriously is managing all of the people in it, and like it's so fucking disappointing when you're the only one who's like really serious about it and everyone else is just like, I don't really care, it's a hobby to me, all that kind of thing. You can't be like half in, half out. If you want to
Absolutely.
tour, record, make a living at it,
Yeah.
just there's no room for that. And
What? That sounds awesome, dude. If you ever, when that happens, tell me, because I want to listen to it. Sounds awesome.
I would love for that to be the case, just so I could say I did it. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like be old and regret not having been a rock star or anything, but I would like
Right.
to just get that out of my system in some cases.
Yeah.
I'd like to, like, even my own self, like there's songs that I've written that I wouldn't mind recording, but I don't want to do the work of like I don't want to be a famous musician. I figured that out. Like I don't want to be a famous musician. Every famous musician I know doesn't go well. Like it's like it doesn't sound like an ideal lifestyle for me. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be home most of the time. Like
Yeah.
even with wrestling, that's like the hard part is the traveling. The wrestling is fun. If there was just like one place in town I could just go to every weekend, that would be easy. But if I have to like every weekend wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and just drive or fly to another place, like that taxing part of that lifestyle. For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Eating
time.
fast food all the time.
Yeah. It's unsustainable.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, same. Like I don't ever. I'm not doing acting to get famous or rich and famous. I'm not doing music to get rich and famous. It's just fun. Like it's something we enjoy doing. Like actually, just this past Saturday, my band played a little gig. We did like a quick half-hour set at a bar here in town, and I'm like, I can look back at that like, dude, I played music in front of people. Like I played to a room of people, and that's good enough for me. Like I'm good with that. Like I don't need anything else.
Yeah, the other thing about it for me is like the lifestyle surrounding that stuff. So, like, I don't want to be in a bar. Like, I don't drink anymore. So, like, being surrounded by people who are drinking and doing drugs and shit like that. It's not like I'm putting them down. Like, this is your
Sure.
life. Do whatever you want. But like,
Yeah.
I cannot sustain that lifestyle anymore. Like, you were talking earlier about like, what did I do with my 20s? Like, I drank my 20s to oblivion. Fucking like I got the most out of life you can get living that lifestyle, and I can't do it anymore. Like, my body
there, done
doesn't
that.
want it. My soul needs to do something else.
Yeah.
But yeah,
100% respect that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is like you got to pick what kind of energy you want to be around, and like with even just like I was around like annoying drunk people that night, and like I'm not a fan of that any more than you are, but like it's one of the things I can put up with it because like I'm I get to play music, but yeah, no, you definitely do decide what room you want to be in and what you're comfortable with, and yeah, there's 100% nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing to know about yourself too.
I think I was like 19-ish. I had this like job as a like event security kind of thing. I'm 5'7", 140 pounds. Don't. The only thing is that like I had a martial arts background, so they were like, "Yeah, you'll be fine. Like you could wrestle and stuff. You'll be okay." I'm like, "Cool," but it was like I was guarding the door for it was like the Mobile Civic Center or something like that, or the Sanger Theater, whatever. And it was Jerry Seinfeld was playing the theater that night, and that's the first time that I like saw someone who was doing that life. Like he was like doing the touring and going everywhere, but he was like so not fucking around with all the shit. Like he like had a private tour bus. He walked in the door right before he was going to go on stage. They had a private green room with all of his shit ready for him and stuff. He just walked in, and as soon as he was off, like, he walked off the stage, right out the door, got on the bus to the next town. And I'm like, that's a way better way to do this.
Yeah.
Like, infinitely better because even with wrestlers, it's like as soon as the show's over, it's like, all right, let's all go fucking get drunk and shit. And I'm like, okay. We have to do something with our lives.
Yeah. No, it's at a certain point you realize like that kind of just partying every night thing is not sustainable at all. I've never been I still drink occasionally, like I'll have a beer or two here and there, but like I've even like in my early mid-20s, like the height of my party days, which I barely can even call them that, like I was never like a stay out till 2 a.m. type of guy, like, close down the bars, hit the clubs or whatever. Like, I've never been that guy. I just don't get it. I don't really see the appeal. And like, yeah, I'll get a good buzz going and have like relax and have fun with people, but like, I don't know, man. I can't even fathom doing that more than once a week. A couple times a month. It's like people do this every single night. Like, this is just your life. Like,
I
yeah, how the
I
fuck do you
promise
keep
you,
that up?
it gets dark, man. Like,
Yeah,
especially
I'm sure.
in the military, it's just a ritual. It's like I
Yeah.
it was like unheard. If I went a day without drinking, that was weird. It was like, oh, I didn't drink yesterday. That's strange because it's like every day. That's as soon as you're off work, you're just basically like, I cannot honestly say I've ever, like you said, had a couple of beers. Like, I don't even know what that is. Like,
Wow.
just drink 2 drinks and then like, all right, well, that's the end of the night. I'm gonna relax now. It's like, no, you just drink until you pass out. You wake up the next day, you go running with a big group of people, sweat it all out, and you keep going. And it's like horrible. Like
Goddamn.
in the UK, that's also normal. Like,
Yep.
everyone just does that. Like, as soon as you're off your work at 5 o'clock, you eat, hit the bar closes at midnight exactly everywhere. You pass out. So you go get more drinks, drink until you pass out, wake up the next morning, and then you go eat beans and toast or whatever greasy
Yeah.
shit you have to do to get through the
Whatever
hangover,
it is.
and you repeat, and that's every day. And yeah,
God,
it's exhausting.
no way.
Fucking yeah. I just I just got so tired of like living like that, and it was a
Yeah, no.
habit too. It was like I couldn't just stop either. I had to like
Yeah.
because that's the hardest lesson that I learned is because like when I made the decision like I'm gonna not drink anymore, and I understood you have to taper off of it, but I
Mhm.
dramatically underestimated the effect that that has on the human body.
Yeah.
So like the first time that I tried to do that, I ended up in the hospital because my body was like having had such an intense reaction to it. It was like I
Mhm.
had just for basically a decade not gone any extended period of time without at least some alcohol in my system. And my body was like, "What the fuck, bro?" Um,
That's wild.
yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
recommend it.
No, I I appreciate that. I wouldn't either. I actually have, like, a family history of alcohol abuse, and so, like, I've seen it happen, and it is one of those things, like, where I've done therapy for years too, and, like, I've talked about therapists or I've talked about this to therapists where I've kind of explained that even when I'm a social occasional drinker now, like, even doing that, I still keep it very front of mind. I'm still very cognizant of, like, examining my relationship with alcohol. Like, when I drink the little amount occasionally that I do now, even then I'm like, "Okay, am I doing this to relax? Am I doing this to have fun with friends? Or am I doing this to escape from something? Or am I doing this to kinda, like, suppress something?" It is, like, one of those things, like, if you're as long as you're examining your motives and, like, you're kinda keeping front of mind, like, how you're feeling about everything, like, your state of mind when you intoxicate yourself, like, it's kinda like it's a good habit to be in to, like, "How am I feeling about this, and why am I doing this?" I guess. But or obviously, a completely valid way to go as well is, like, just you're done with it, like, that part of your life is over, you're not doing that anymore, like, there's no wrong answer for that, it's kinda like, it's whatever you need to
Yeah.
kinda keep going, yeah.
No, I definitely was like the escapism person. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
for me, like the idea of just like going through a day and facing it, like raw dogging life was just like, who does that? How can like I literally like if someone's like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't gamble, I don't curse. I'm like, then you're a pedophile. Like, what is your vice? Because you have to have one.
Yeah, like,
Um,
how do you
yeah.
function?
Yeah, and yeah, obviously that's just a fucking lie you tell yourself, but that's genuinely how I felt. I mean, from the age of 14 until 29, I just didn't do the whole like no more than like 6 weeks or some shit, like just
Wow.
being sober was insane to me. I'm like, how do you do
Wow.
that? Like how do you fall literally like how do you fall asleep if you're not intoxicated? like um, like who could just like lay down and just go to sleep? I had like was it Robin Williams used to talk about that. It's like, no, as soon as I lay down, it's like a monkey with a cymbals in its hand crashing and like all like the circus comes on. That's how I felt. So
Right.
I either drank or smoked weed or whatever the fuck to get through that.
Wow.
And,
Insane. Well,
not much
I'm just on a personal level, man to man, I'm really glad you've reached a point where you're kind of more at peace with yourself, if that makes sense. I'm glad that like you've figured out what you need and that you're at peace with it, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
if that's not too familiar of me to say. Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I'm pretty okay with just being real, like, about
Yeah.
stuff. I feel like people don't like, I know so many people who do have these problems that do not talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it creates this illusion to people who are in that trap that I
Yeah.
was in, where it's like, well, no one else is expressing it. And then like when you
Yeah.
do talk to people who have gotten sober, it's like they found Jesus or they did
Mhm.
12-step program. And there's nothing wrong with those things. I mean, whatever
Sure.
gets you there. But I
Yeah.
mean, like, it's not relatable necessarily. So I would just say, like, for me, as soon as I knew I was going to be a father, I'm like, I have to just, like, it was like a light switch moment. I'm like, I look at who you are right now. Does that, is that what you want to be as an example to someone else?
Yep.
Like, I was thinking about, like, I don't want to, like, it's 4 in the morning and my kid's crying and needs me, and I'm like just fucking hungover on the couch. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, for sure. I've always felt that I've always tried to be kind of an open book. Like I'll talk about anything. I'll open up about anything because it's like, what's the harm in saying it? Like there's like if you've accepted what's happened to you and what you've been through and what you feel about things, like there's no harm in saying it. Like no one can. Yeah, it's. I guess for the judge, I've never had that fear of judgment. I guess it's like no, it is what it is, and yeah, I mean it's what yeah, especially when you're becoming a father, it's like yeah, you really do examine. Like, yeah, how do I want to be? Who do I want to appear? What kind of what kind of example what do I want to set? What kind of father would I have wanted if I was a kid? And like, how do I be that person and all that stuff? And it really makes you reflect, for sure. It's big.
Well, I don't know. I like, because obviously that switch doesn't necessarily come for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
I'm just happy that it was that obvious to me that like this has to, and I had wanted, like I had said before, like I wanted to get sober for a long time. I just didn't have like that reason, like that thing that's like I'm just gonna hold on to this and this will be my motivation. Otherwise, it was
Yeah.
to me it was just like, oh, well, I made it 2 weeks. It won't hurt to, have a beer, smoke a joint or whatever the fuck. And then like the next thing I know, I'm like right back to where I started. And it was always like hanging out. It was like I was talking about like going to the bar or whatever. It was hanging out with the wrong fucking people. Not that they were bad people, but it's just like all of my friends were doing the same shit or whatever. And
It's just being in environments that don't serve you anymore. That's all it is.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
I just can't for my health for what I want out of life. I can't be here anymore. No, no offense, no hard feelings, but I can't be here anymore.
You're listening to KEEP in the Keep. Whatever happened to the good old days, when computer role-playing games spent more time telling great stories than stressing you out with season passes and needless grinding? Call of Seregnar is our effort to bring back the best in RPGs. Play in the immersive world as two friends adventure into a murder mystery that lands them in the middle of a battle between gods. Head over to callofseregnar.com. That's call of SAREGNAR.com for more info. And be sure to wishlist on Steam.
Totally get that. When I was reading Duff McKagan's book, I found it fascinating how like he basically talked himself into his coke habit, like how he justified it, how he rationalized it. Like when Guns N' Roses were blowing up and they were like first doing their big tours and when they were writing their first albums, like his big thing was drinking. Like he was just a huge drinker. He wasn't even a big hard drug user. He never touched heroin or anything like that. He just drank constantly. He would just kill liters of vodka and wine and shit like that. And the reason he started getting into coke was he basically would get drowsy from the alcohol. He's like, oh, I need something to pick me up so I can keep drinking. So he literally.
And if I don't do this right now, the fans will be disappointed with my
that.
performance.
Yeah, that too.
If I don't
got
make
it
on stage. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, he would just justify like, oh, I'm not like doing coke just to do coke. I'm doing it so I can stay awake and keep drinking. It's just, it's wild. It's the types of lives that some people lead, it's just it's like foreign to me, and it's crazy. But
I definitely can relate. Like
Yes.
it's just, I would have those like 4 a.m. conversations with myself where it's like,
yeah,
well, do you want to sleep tonight? Because there's a beer in the fridge and you could sleep. But and then you have like that demon on your shoulder where it's like, but you have to stop. You could just not have it, but you're just not going to sleep tonight. And then if you don't sleep
yeah,
tonight, you're not going to make it to work on time, and you're going to feel like shit. But it's like, but I'm going to feel like shit either way. If I don't have this drink, I'm going to feel sick. And if I do have this
right,
drink, I'm going to feel sick later. So you're
right,
just like constantly, basically just putting the problem off until later.
yep,
I would even like, it was so easy in Denmark because like there would just be beer and liquor and shit in the refrigerator at work, and like no one would say anything. It's so normal in Europe
yeah,
for whatever reason. Like,
yeah,
like no one would even say anything to you. If like you're just like crack open a beer at lunch, like it doesn't matter. As long as you're not like sloppy drunk. And my problem more than anything is I wish I could have just been someone who was like sloppy, so someone would have had to like grab like, what's wrong with you? But I was always like super I could literally be sitting here having this conversation, and go back and listen to like old In the Keep episodes. There's almost none of them where I was sober. Like
wow,
I was just like sitting there drinking beer, and I was proud of it too. I was like, yeah, it's just
yeah.
time for another beer. You could hear
That
me
was
cracking it into the microphone and shit, and that was the lifestyle. And
that was normal. That was your
yeah,
yeah,
and as long as it's not a problem, no one's really gonna like confront you about it. And
right,
it's not for really anyone else's job to enforce that on you. It's your choice what you do.
right,
I and it was honestly it was never a problem until I wasn't in the military anymore, because
mm,
there were real consequences to like showing up to work drunk. Whereas
yeah,
like if you if you show up to work and you're drinking on the job, like you go to jail. Whereas
right,
like in the real world, like if you just sleep until 10:30 because you're hungover and show up to work late, like as long as your job gets done, no one really fucking cares.
yeah,
Um, and that was like I felt like simultaneous is like I was so happy to have the freedom to make my own decisions, but I was also like that with great power comes great responsibility, that I had
yeah,
always had someone else take that responsibility for me.
right,
Um, but in some ways, like I'm glad I did live that life so that I can like look back on it and say like I beat that demon or whatever.
yeah,
Um, but there's so many things I think with artist type folks where they get into you're talking about Duff McKagan, like you get into that pattern and you have all these reasons why you're self justifying it, and for me especially it was like I had so much like anxiety that like I didn't think that I could perform if I wasn't drinking or smoking pot or something like that. Like I can't calm down enough to like sit down and have this conversation if I'm not fucking under the influence, and that anxiety. Obviously that's not true. I had to like figure that out, but
right,
definitely if you're gonna quit drinking, like anybody listening, if you're gonna quit drinking and you're like a heavy drinker, a consistent all the time drinker, that first 2 weeks, once you get past that, it's over. But that first 2 weeks is like rough because you
yeah,
are anxious all the time. And you're like,
yeah,
you're all of the suppression, like it's like if you are out in the cold and then
mhm,
you come back inside and then like when you thaw out, you feel all the tingling pain that you haven't felt. It's like however long you've been under the influence of any nerve suppressant or whatever, all of that comes back all at once. Your body is still going to do it. It's just been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. So it's
yeah. That's the big hump to get over, and yeah, it's I actually, I grew up with functional alcoholics in my family. I kind of saw how
mm,
like, yeah, it can appear normal, but like it's only because they've made such a habit of it that it appears like that's just their normal state of being.
mhm.
Then yeah, when you break that habit, it it really collapses in on itself, and it's very hard to live any other way. But if you get accustomed to it, you can live another way eventually if you get through it. So
Yeah.
it's tough though.
What kind of effect did that have on you as a kid? Like,
I don't. It's weird because it's one of. I'll just say it. It was my dad.
mm,
Like no one here knows him, but it it's weird because I didn't really notice it at all growing up. It's really only looking back in retrospect you start to notice like or realize like, oh shit, that was kind of sus. That was kind of weird that happened. But so like he would occasionally pick me up from. I went to school. My brother and I we went to school, and my parents both worked full time. And so we would go to school and the bus would drop us off at basically our babysitter's house. And then mom or dad would come get us from the babysitter's house when they were off work. And so my dad would sometimes pick us up and he would have an open can of beer in his car as he's like picking us up to take us home. And I'm like, and at the time, when I'm literally an elementary school kid, I don't think anything of it. I'm like, oh, dad's just drinking a beer. He does that all the time. That's normal. I don't put two and two together. Like maybe he shouldn't be doing that while driving. That doesn't occur to me. It's only when I look back as an adult, like that was kind of weird. I don't know why that was happening. And then, yeah, like, I remember another time he came home from work and he had like a Wendy's Coke, like he had a cup from Wendy's. He'd gone through the drive-through at Wendy's and he'd gotten a Diet Coke or whatever.
Mm.
And I was thirsty. I'm like, hey, Dad, can I have some of your Coke? Can I take a sip of your Coke? And he's like, no, because there's rum in it. Or no, he didn't say that, but like he told me no, I couldn't. And I remember like, yeah, just for some reason, like I look back, I'm like, oh, because he spiked it. He was just drinking a rum and Coke casually out of a Wendy's cup. And like again, like I think when I look back, I'm like, oh, he was when I say functional alcoholic, I mean like he was maintaining. He went to work. He didn't like come home sloshed and beat us or anything. He was a functional, normal, healthy appearing guy. But I think when I say functional, I mean like it was just a habit that wasn't ruining his life or anything like that. He wasn't like destroying our home life. I grew up in a stable, healthy, loving home for the most part. Like there were bad nights, like occasionally, but that's not less for anybody. But like it, it's one of those. It's weird because it's like it's a very subtle in the background sort of thing that you notice later in life. As a kid, it doesn't really. And thank God, like I think if a kid notices a drinking problem and knows what it is at the time, that's a big problem. Like a kid should not know that you have a drinking problem and that your habit is affecting your life and the kid's life. But yeah, the fact that I look back on it and notice it, like, well, I guess things weren't that bad that he was maintaining. It's fine. But then it got dark. It got bad when my mom passed away years ago. It was probably it's coming up on 12 years now, 14 years now. She died of cancer when I was 22. I was just out of college, and my dad, obviously, needless to say, he didn't cope well at all. His drinking problem, which, like I said, had been very subtle and very manageable throughout most of his life, throughout my life, it became very much not manageable, very much not so. It's not subtle after my mom passed away, and he was kind of alone in that house. Just what could go wrong, right? But so it got to a point where he was not taking care of himself at all, and it was really bad. And so my brother and I basically had to step in, essentially pull power of attorney and get him in a situation that was sustainable, that he could live in. So yeah, it's one of the things where like when you become an adult and your parents like suddenly rely on you, it's something not many people are ready for when it happens, especially when it happens like that, where it's like, oh, I'm still figuring my shit out. Now I have to help you figure your shit out. I didn't know I had to do that. And it's not easy, but yeah, no, I've seen it happen. It can take a lot of forms, basically.
I mean, I'm sorry you had to go through that, but
Oh no, thank you. I appreciate that. It is what it is. It's fine now. Things are he's actually doing a lot better now. He's met his granddaughter. He's psyched to be a granddad. He's doing well now, as well as he can be.
hey, man,
Yeah.
I always try to think about it like not to get all metaphysical or new agey, but I just think about like life kind of gives you the challenges that you're supposed to face, and it's your decision how you interface with those things. And
Yeah.
like the part of your life where you become sort of responsible for your parent, it's like at a certain point, they had that moment with you where it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
they had that same moment as me where it's like, do I end my bad habits now, or do I hide it and try to keep it under wraps or manage it so
Yeah.
that this never affects you, all that kind of
Right.
stuff. Like I it's tough.
Right.
Like it's fucking really, really hard. I'd
It
say
is.
either way. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
It's our parents are human beings. Like I think when you're a kid, you think of them as untouchable. Like they seem perfect, or at least you assume they have it all figured out. And then like, yeah, you become an adult and you realize, oh no, none of us have this shit figured out. We're all just kind of doing our best.
There's so many things like that with my parents where I'm like, it's stuff that I used to like resent them for, and then as I became an adult myself, I was like, man, I kind of realize, like my dad, I'm like, you're the way you are because your mom was the way that she was, and she's the way she is because her mom was the way, and it goes all the way back to like, I don't know, Cain and Abel or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the first, the 2001: A Space Odyssey, like the first monkey to figure out that if you hit another monkey over the head with a stick, you could get more food or whatever.
Right.
It's just a never ending thing. But
Yeah.
I think, a good place to leave off would be like, as parents, I'm just going to do my best to not pass along those every single bad habit. There's probably going to be stuff that I, never quite work out, but I'm hoping like when my boy is older, he's going to look back and say like, my dad did the best he could, and now it's my turn to carry the torch.
Yeah. I'll do the best I can. You did the best he could. His dad did the best he could. It's you always try to do better than what came before you. Like there are things that I had good parents. I honestly could have done a lot worse. They were good people. But yeah, there are things that I'm planning to do different from them. Like I'm going to do better than them on certain things. Or I'm going to, and on the other hand, I'm going to try and do as good as them in other things. Like I'm going to do better. I'm going to aspire to certain things, and I'm going to do better than at other things. And that's all you can do. Just try to be better in the ways that count, basically.
It's one thing I have to give my parents. Like I think a lot of people have when they first have a kid, like the fights with their parents because their parents want to weigh in on what they think you ought to do with the kid and that kind of stuff. And I can honestly say, like my folks are like, oh, don't make these mistakes that I made. Like, don't do this. Like, they're never like telling me how to raise my kid. They're saying like, don't be like me in this way.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's the through line for this whole conversation that we started with sort of a thought about, inspirations and how things are connected and like how creative works can all be tied back to something else. And it's the same way with parenting, like we are instilled with certain values and customs and habits by the people who shape us. And we get to, when we become parents, like you and I have, like we get to choose what we keep and what we don't. We get to choose like, hey, that was good. I'm going to do that too. But this was bad. I'm not going to do that. And it's just sort of like, you get to be that floodgate of like, oh, I'm going to let this through, but not that. I'm going to, improve on this, but that's fine. And my wife and I are actually figuring this out too, because like we were raised by different people, obviously. So like her parents had certain things that, she doesn't want to repeat, but other things she doesn't want to repeat. And like, yeah, vice versa for me. So it's like, hey, we got to come together and have an understanding of like, how we both want to approach different things and be a team. You got to be a team. Don't let the baby bully both of you. You got to be a team.
Yeah. There's nothing more annoying to me when I hear someone say like, oh, this and this happened when I was a kid and I turned out okay, so it's no big deal. And I'm like, no, not in this house. Maybe you guys can do whatever you want over there, but like, nah, not good enough.
That ain't it. That's not a good excuse. That's not good enough because like I was spanked and I was hit sometimes growing up. Like I was disciplined physically sometimes growing up. And I think I'm mostly well adjusted now, but that's in spite of the physical punishment, not because of it. Like it's just because I'm fine generally, I'm a healthy person generally, I'm not doing that shit. Like I know it's wrong. Like I know it was wrong at the time. My parents didn't know it. They thought it was acceptable, if not, not ideal, but acceptable. And I know now, like, no, I'm not doing that. Even though I'm okay now, doesn't matter. Yeah, you're right.
An especially hard cycle to break, I think.
It is.
And like, I was the same for me. Like I grew up in the South too. So like I would watch like a kid act up in the grocery store and then like get spanked and then other parents would clap kind of shit. And I'm like, that's just fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not going to say his name because it's not fair, but like I had a friend who grew up like that. And then when he has two boys and he was starting to act that way, and his wife was angry at him, and as she should be, like, don't do
Yeah.
that. But for him, it was just so brainwashed. It was like, well, that's how you discipline people. And I
Yeah,
was like,
that's normal. Yeah.
had like a come to Jesus meeting with him where I'm like, look, it's like, think about, like you're so angry and you hate your father, right? Like, and he's like, yes, I do hate my father. I'm like, and you know how you can't look him in the eye because of how much you hate him? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, do you look at your son and tell me you want him to grow up and think that of you? Make that decision. And he obviously like figured it out on his own. But like, just like do the logic, like think in the long term. Don't just think about right now.
That's big.
But I don't even fault my parents for doing what they did. Like I just feel like they had that experience as a kid too. That's how that is how they were taught discipline works.
Yeah.
So
Same here,
unlearning that is, especially now, we have the internet, we have like all of these different outlets to explore what other people think and how they do stuff. And like I've had this conversation with my father where he's like, you're kind of an asshole. I'm like, okay, Dad, enlighten me. And he's like, you hold us to these standards of like what we should have known. And he's like, I want you to understand that in like 1975, the only information we got was the newspaper, the library, what they told us at school, and what the preacher said. And that was it.
That was it.
He's like, I couldn't just open up my phone and like Google all this information and like see what other people thought of every different idea. Like whatever they told us on Sunday was the truth. And anybody who went against that was an insane person.
Mm-hmm.
And you're expecting so much of us. And like I had to take a step back and be like, you're right. That's true. We as a generation have done that in many, many ways. For the better, I hope, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's like when you know better, you can try to be better, but you got to understand like what came before you. Like, I don't hold it against my parents how they raised me. Like they did the best they could with the information they had. The same way that like I don't really hold it against my dad, like what he put us through when his drinking got really bad. Like because I know what he was going through. I know that he was grieving. He wasn't grieving in a healthy way. He was grieving in a self-destructive way.
That was the way he knew how to grieve.
Exactly. That's what he knew how to do. So it's like I can't find resentment in my heart for that. Like I'm frustrated with him. I was frustrated with him when it was, when he was putting us through that. But like, it's like, yeah, no, he's going through something. It's not his fault necessarily.
Well,
no, it's hey, we all do our best. Like we said, we all heal however we can and do our best. And creative outlets are how we are one tool in that toolbox.
That's what I would say. Yeah. If you're out there and you're struggling, find something you like doing and do that instead. It's
here. Amen.
It's been great to catch up with you, man. I know I scheduled this for like way longer, but it's because I wasn't thinking. But let's
it's
move on with your night.
It's all good. Yeah, that's like I said, free time's at a premium. We could talk all night, I'm sure, but this was great. I'm glad we could do. Let's do this again sometime. Maybe when Stellar Valkyrie's out, we can talk about the game itself or something. Or just
I would love to get all of
the
whole team together one day, like
absolutely
voice actors and like stuff, and like just talk about the whole experience of the game.
That'd be sick. Yeah.
So hopefully that's not too much longer. Wink, wink to the audience. But all right, man.
Can't wait.
Have a good night.
You too. Take care.
Thank you. Howdy, y'all. I'm being quiet right now because I have my newborn infant son in my lap as I record this. Thank you all for bearing with me through that little break, and be back more, sooner than later with like even more content and stuff. I'm just catching up. Thanks to Connor for coming on the show. I really appreciated him. Thank you to all of our wonderful supporters who have endured with us through all these years and continue to do so. Thank you. Just thanks. I love you. God love you. I'll say more next time, I promise. Stay in the keep. let's take a moment to talk about Appalachia TCG. Whether you're searching for sports cards, Magic the Gathering, Flesh and Blood, Pokemon, or Yu-Gi-Oh!, they can offer you an extensive selection to suit every collector and competitor. As an official reseller, they are committed to providing authentic booster packs, singles, accessories, and rare finds that set them apart from competitors. They buy and sell lots of trading cards and toys, but their special is the Flesh and Blood trading card game, and they run official events, pre-releases, and more. Along with their ever-growing community, Appalachia TCG is the premium spot for trading, buying, and selling cards. I know what you're thinking, but I don't live in Eastern Kentucky. Well, that's the best part. You can shop online and in person. There is the official TCG player shop, eBay store, and online shop. Head on over to AppalachiaTCG.com. That's AppalachiaTCG.com. Tell them In the Keep sent you.
Hi, I'm Ben, host of the Field and Foley podcast. Every episode I sit down with incredible guests, not just sound designers, field recorders, or musicians, but experts in everything about audio. We explore the creative process behind the sounds that shape our favorite games, films, and experiences. Whether you're an audio professional or just someone who loves great sound, Field and Foley offers deep dives, behind-the-scenes stories, and insights you won't hear anywhere else.